This material is intended for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome back, adventurers. You're listening to Tipsy Geeks Unite, where fandoms collide and drinks are always flowing.
I'm MissKate.
And I'm TabiiKat. Together, we're diving into the worlds of anime, games, streaming sagas, and all things geeky, with a boozy twist.
So grab your potion, power-ups, and let's get nerdy.
Cheers to Season 3. Let's roll.
What's up, guys? We are back for another episode of Tipsy Geeks Unite. It's me, MissKate, and we got Tabby here, but we also have a special guest. He is known as OptimysticGamer on Twitch. I'm going to let him introduce himself. He is a fellow streamer and a friend of mine and a mythologist. So we're very happy to have him on here, and we are going to be talking about Elden Ring. But before we get into that, Opti, would you introduce yourself?
Yeah, no, greetings, friends. So my name's Opti. I'm a man of many hats. Primarily what I do is I am a mythologist, so I study mythology in my day-to-day, and then I combined real-world myth studies with the intersection with video game mythologies. So I have, in the past, I've looked at different bits of Monster Hunter lore. I'm currently working on a Monster Hunter Wilds bit as well, and looking at things like Dark Souls in the near future. Other than that, I'm also a charity fundraiser. So my community has raised nearly $18,000 USD for charity. So a lot of what we do is try to make the world a better place through doing all kinds of different things over the years. Too many to name at this point, but I'm big into all those sorts of lore-driven action games, shooters, things like that. So yeah, that's a lot of what I do.
Beautiful. And we will link his socials in the show notes for you guys. Please check him out. He is fun to watch, great community, and just a very humble person to be around. Unlike my fucking raging ass, but very sweet like Tabby, I will say. I don't know how they are friends with me because I am just a pile of chaos. So before we get into Elden Ring lore, I want to ask everybody, what are you guys sipping on, or what are you embarking on this lovely discussion?
So I have been fighting some headaches today, so I have decided to opt out of the drinks tonight, and I'm taking some gummies instead. So I'm having a different kind of experience today.
Woo!
Woo!
Hell yeah, dude. Opti, what about you?
I have some chamomile tea, and I mixed up some blowhole blast to get me through this.
Whoa, yeah, dude.
That.
I need some caffeine right now.
Oh, okay. So it's a caffeinated drink mixed with
Gamer
chamomile?
sups, yeah.
Oh, okay. I know gamer sups. I've never had it before, but I've heard of it.
I've heard of it too.
That's so cool. I love chamomile tea.
It's like, here's caffeine, but a nice soothing tea. Love to hear it. Love to hear. And I am sipping on an amaretto. I was discussing with Opti and Tabby before we started recording that I am in my Dracula gothic romance era right now, and so I'm just like heavily embodying some nice, smooth fall dark, what I consider dark gothic kind of beverages. And amaretto's just classic to me. It's classy as fuck. Can't go wrong with it.
Typically, I am a bourbon drinker, though. I don't drink as much as I used to, but when I do, like a good 2 fingers of like a nice single malt bourbon is my go-to.
Hell yeah. The older I've gotten, I've strayed away. I can't drink beer anymore due to like dietary problems, but I have just appreciated whiskeys, bourbons, brandies, gin. Amaretto I used to hate when I was younger, and now it's like I'll drink it straight. I don't even mix it. I just drink it straight.
Legend.
Wow.
It tastes great straight. It's just like boozy almonds, man, and I love almonds. Almonds are like I will eat anything almond and cherry, and almonds like I originally got this amaretto to bake with. And then slowly I like took a sip of it when I was mixing into some of my I was making some boozy fruit for a pie, and I was like, damn, this shit hits. And so I started drinking it straight.
As you do.
You know, I started drinking it straight, and I was like, well, I'm gonna have to buy another bottle. I'm gonna have to buy like 2 bottles, one for baking, one for drinking. Like, this shit's too fucking good. But no, I like drinking things just straight with a little bit on the rocks. Maybe add like a, like a subtle like orange or something to it, just very subtle. But like mixed drinks are okay. I'll drink them like when I go out, but drinking stuff straight, just like with a good book. It's a good book.
Mm-hmm.
Or a good video game,
In a lounge chair.
Yes, I have.
Like
I have
a lounge chair.
I have a reading chair, but I actually might upgrade it to one of those massive like reading chairs that just look like giant beds. I might do that.
That's I have a like a 4-foot wide memory foam beanbag.
Oh
and
my
it's
gosh.
wonderful. And it's great. I'm like the middle of winter when I'm like bundled up on it and like my cat's curled up on my lap and I'll just sit and read for a few hours. It's great.
That's I have like my reading setup, but I want to get one of those nice, just like cozy corner kind of nooks, like sitting, laying situation. But I also want to find one of those lap kind of desk things that you can perch a book on, and I could just sit there and read for hours on end. But that's a later time. Right now, I'm building my book collection up, even though I don't need to. I think my book collection's worth more than my actually like streaming gaming setup, which is outrageous. But
Jesus.
But anyways, we digress. So now we are going to get into Elden Ring. Elden Ring is one of the biggest games that has been released in the past, 4 or 5 years. We all know FromSoft. We all know the difficulties of a FromSoft game. If you've played Dark Souls, Bloodborne, or Sekiro, Elden Ring is from the same developer / publisher. I've done way too many playthroughs. I'm not going to admit how many playthroughs I've done of Elden Ring.
How many hours?
I'm not going to admit to it. I'm not going to admit to it. I have played... I will say Elden Ring is my least favorite out of all of them. I do have a lot of hours. Yeah, I do have a lot of hours in it too, because,
there's so much to it.
It's so massive, but also, with things progressing in the gaming industry and modding is such a huge thing. I love playing it with friends, the different ways we can play it, the different things we uncover, but also just the memes that come out of it. But actually Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne are my favorite FromSoft games. Well, Souls-like games. My favorite FromSoft game is, I don't know if you guys have heard it, but it was released on the original Xbox and it's called Otogi. Definitely not Souls-like.
I thought you were gonna go left field and be like Tenchu Z or like Kuan or something.
No, it's Otogi. Otogi's like it's set in like a Japanese setting. You are this being who fights demons and you're clearing out arenas, and it's kind of like a Devil May Cry-esque game. And I played it when it first came out on Xbox. I had no idea it was a FromSoft game until recently. Because I looked up, okay, what are all the games that FromSoft has done? They can't have done just fucking Souls like the Souls
How old
games.
is that game?
Oh, dude, original Xbox? I think I was in high school when it came out.
Oh, you did say original Xbox. Okay.
I was in high school when it came out. It's very old. Beautiful. I played both. There's 2 Otogi games. I absolutely love them. But those are my all-time favorite FromSoft games. But Souls, like, I'm a Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 fan. Opti, I know you've played the Elden Ring a few times.
I have done 3 full playthroughs of the base game. I've only beaten the DLC once. I probably have more hours in any given Dark Souls game than I do in like any single given Dark Souls game than I do Elden Ring. Those I put so much time into those. I do love Elden Ring though. I consume Elden Ring as much as I can. It's so fascinating of a universe that they've created.
It is. It's
oh my god.
It's good. Tabby, I know you're doing the
You
current
guys are
playthrough.
putting me to shame here.
You're
I
currently
still have,
playing through it, right?
I'm, yeah, it's a never-ending struggle.
Well,
Like
you have me to help you. I will carry your ass in it.
I know I play it and then I just want to like beat everything and then I get like focused on a different game and then I have to many months later I'll come back to Elden Ring and I'm like, what was I doing? And then I'll restart from the very beginning and it's a circle. I'm just eating my own. I'm like a snake eating its own tail when it comes
You're an
to Elden.
Ouroboros.
Yes. So I'm taking up Elden Ring again, and this is probably my fourth playthrough I'm restarting.
How far are you?
But I'm like just about to get to the academy with Renala.
Ah.
But I'm also like super, I try to understand the lore and I listen to all the lore videos and hopefully today you can set me straight and help me figure out the lore and all of
Beautiful.
that.
Yeah, Souls
I'm
games
glad
are
you
hard.
have faith in us.
We'll do our best. We're relying heavily on Opti. I did my own research, but this is gonna kind of be a collective effort. Yeah,
Opti podcast today.
yeah, Opti's the lead, man. He's the lead, and I'll share whatever research I've done. But yeah, from like the Souls games, if you've never played them, you have to find like it's not very linear as some games are, and the lore is not really dropped into your face. It's very like you need to read your items, you need to listen, you gotta it's really built into the environment and the places you explore, the people and things that you encounter. So it's not very apparent what it is. So a lot of this, at least what I've read and my understandings of any Dark Souls games, especially Elden Ring, it's that a lot of it you're making your own theories. Some of it's very factual. Some of it might be maybe we're on the right path, but we don't have it 100% correct. So this is a lot of like, please keep in mind that this is a lot of what we've researched, some of our perspectives and from other perspectives from our sources. So we do ask that you are kind to what we know and what we have taken away from the things that we have learned of Elden Ring. And you might hear a little bit of Nightreign, because Nightreign just came out, and Nightreign is very tied to Elden Ring as well.
Oh, definitely. And you can, like, I haven't played the DLC, but I'm also not afraid of getting spoiled with the story and the DLC because I know I've I've had the story told to me and I like vaguely get it with like what's the guy? Mikola? No, it's the one that's cursed with eternal youth.
Mikola.
Is it Mikola?
Mikola.
Oh, it is Mikola. Oh my God, I got the name right. Yay. There's George R. Martin and all of these names.
Mikola, Melania, Morgott, Margit.
And then you have
Mo.
all the R's, you have
All the
Radon, you have
Renala, Radigan,
Ronnie, Rancart,
Randall, Roger. Actually, Roger's not far off.
Roger, yeah.
Yeah. So we're gonna cover as much as we can in this episode. If you guys are familiar with Vati, it's taken him several hour-long YouTube videos to explain. So we're gonna do our own interpretation. It's gonna be very broad. Some of it may be in depth of things that I researched what I was interested in, not the entirety of a whole, because there's just too fucking much. I spent a week on this, and I still don't know if I scratched the surface.
It's crazy.
This one's it's more in depth because I was telling Opti earlier. I have in one game alone, Dark Souls 3, I have thousands of hours in it. And I knew the lore front and back. After reading and watching and listening to so much shit about Elden Ring, I don't even know what the fucking Dark Souls 3 is about anymore. I don't know. It's gone. It's erased from my memory. I'm a potato now.
You gotta get yourself a Zettelkasten.
What is that?
It's oh God. It's so my current project right now is I just had a big move, so I'm getting back into like actually doing like my personal project stuff. But my next big project is to try to do like a comprehensive top-down view of the Dark Souls trilogy. And the way I'm like, how do I keep track of all this crap? Because it's like thousands of points of data. And to not sound like one of these pedantic self-help bros on YouTube when you type in Zettelkasten or how to use the program Obsidian, it's basically a way of making a forward-thinking note-taking system that interlinks thoughts with each other.
I need that.
I need that. So it future-proofs your notes. So it's a little bit of work up front, but you can kind of make it so it's not as intrusive. Because like I hate reading and then looking over and taking notes and then being like, okay, what did I just read? And then I have to reread it. And then I get a little bit further and take. So it's a way to like non-intrusively take notes and then go back and then kind of like make a system where you're making all these interconnected things. So you can be like, okay, so like Ronnie is related to like the Carrion Manor, and then so you can relate Ronnie to the Carrion Manor, and you can relate like the Carrion Manor to Renala, and then back to Ronnie, and so it kind of just creates these like interesting little connections back and forth.
Oh, it's like a mapping system.
Yeah. So in like 6 months, when you're like, I don't remember what all this stuff does, you've already done the work to like help remind yourself later.
Beautiful. I'm going to need that because I'm in the process of a big project that I'm not going to state, but that will help me.
Yeah.
And it'll also help for the podcast because right now I just like use Google Docs and I write everything down. Because
that's what I did.
What I do is I'll read and I'll watch, and then sometimes I'll pause, but for the most part I'll watch it and read it in its entirety, and then I write all my notes. And then like when it comes to like recording or me going back to it, I'm like, the fuck is this?
Yep.
What? So I will have to have you send that to me, the title. And I'm gonna dive into that because that would be incredibly helpful. But yeah, so Elden Ring. FromSoft game came out a few years ago. We've all played it. Some of us have completed it. I've only beaten the DLC 1.5 times. I'm halfway through my second playthrough of the DLC. So I did a lot of research on the stuff that I was confused about. There's still a lot of research that could be done into the DLC, but I covered what I thought was important to me. But yeah, Elden Ring is, you you wake up as a tarnished. You gotta travel through the what do they call it? The lands of something.
Lands between. Fight some fucked up shit. Everyone's like trying to kill you. You have multiple endings, and we'll talk about the endings and their meanings, which ones we got essentially, and then kind of go from there. It's kind of classic Souls-like. You wake up as some tarnish or some kind of undying entity. This one you don't have humanity or what was it called in Dark Souls 3? The embers to pop. And this one you don't have that, but you have a maiden. Woo. What's her name?
Well, you're maidenless.
You're maidenless, yeah, but you Melina. I was gonna
not to be confused with Melania.
No, these names. Oh my god! When I was reading about whose children or who, I was like, Humma. What the fuck? Why did you do this? This is terrible. This is a terrible naming system. And
less of a family tree and more of a circle.
Yeah, and granted, so if anyone's familiar with Game of Thrones and also just medieval and old time sake history, there's a lot of incest and some type of fucking aversion of yourself to have kids. Anyways, we'll get into that later. But so just keep a note if you're sensitive to any type of, it's dark in its own way, but it does have incest. Don't listen, or just take it with a grain of salt. That's my warning. So let's dive in. Opti, you want to go ahead and give us a kind of a premise and then kind of start off?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
So the biggest thing, so when looking at Souls lore, especially for somebody, if you've never dive into Souls lore before, like I think the first thing everybody hears is, oh, it's confusing and there's a lot of holes, and a lot of it has to do with the way that the director of the game kind of views the way he does storytelling. And so there exists sort of like a Bible, just a book of everything that is factual within the universe of Dark Souls, of Bloodborne, of Sekiro, of Elden Ring that we will probably never see. And the way that lore is told to us is through omnipotent, or rather omniscient item descriptions. So when you pick up an item in game, there is like a description of that that's told by a third person omniscient narrator most of the time. Like 98% of items is told from like just a perspective of somebody narrating what that item does. There it's told from characters like that you have dialogue from in game, and then also cutscenes. So not only that, though, it's not there's no like, it's not like in like BioShock when you like pick up a audio log and somebody just kind of regurgitates lore at you, or in like I don't even know, like the Tomb Raider series where you pick something up and it's kind of just like a note. So it gives little glimpses of information, and then you kind of have to relate those pieces of information to each other. And so that does invite theory and speculation, which is good. And so there's kind of two ways to go about it. One, run wild with it, which is fine. That's the whole point of it, is to kind of run wild with it. If you're looking at it from the point of somebody who really wants to get into the weeds of it, the way that I look at it is you can look at it from what is quote unquote canonical. So what is closest to sort of like the source itself. So you can look at what is directly stated through the game, what is stated by the developers themselves, and then what we can get from official sources. And we can kind of take that and use that as, hey, here is a definitive foundational signpost that we can use. And then we can look at all the in-game stuff and kind of piece it together, and then you have all the lore theorists. So people like VaatiVidya, Quelaag, Hawkshaw. Loki is probably the one that if you really want to get into the weeds, Loki does some really good stuff. Miss Chalice, Tarnished Archaeologists, tons of really good resources out there. And then you get into the theory, and the theory is built on here's the information we have, and what is the best we can do to try to come up with something that works with what we have, doesn't undermine the developer's intent with storytelling. And then from there, we kind of go from theory to speculation. And then that's where we're getting into, where do we make leaps? What is a reasonable leap and what is not? So when you're looking at Souls lore, I think that's kind of an important sort of digression and hierarchy to keep in mind. And that's kind of how I approach it at the very least.
That's brilliant, actually. And it's a great way to explain how the Souls games are in general. They're very unique in their way of storytelling. They have inspired so many Souls-like games. We have Lies of P, Thymesia, some will argue Neo, Stellar Blade, God, what other Souls-like games?
I'll throw Hollow Knight in there.
Hollow Knight in its own right, because Hollow Knight, you have to figure out the lore and the story. It's not given to you. And it's kind of like a scavenger hunt, is how I see it. You can either choose to find out the story or the reasons or who, what, when, where, how, or you could just, like you said, run wild with it. And it's very unique in its way of storytelling. Now, it can be frustrating, but at the same time, the game is designed to allow people to have their own different experiences with it. I used to just play them for the fucking difficulty and to hate myself. But now I really engross myself into, well, why, how, who, what, where, when, like, what is... Okay, I went through all, like, hundreds of hours of this game. What is the meaning? What is the story? So you can take away what you want to take away and find what you want to find and do what you will with the game. So very unique, but also very punishing. So if you have never played a Souls-like game, they're meant to make you hate yourself and the game. But the pride and the achievement and the feeling you have when you beat them, it's an addicting feeling. I went from being like a horror game only person. I only played horror games. Then I played the first game I ever played from FromSoft is Otogi, but like Souls-like is Bloodborne was my first game, and I went in reverse order. I went Bloodborne 3, 2, 1. And I was like, who the fuck would make these fucking games? And now everyone knows me as a Souls player because I play a lot of Souls games and a lot of Souls-like games. They're my favorite because I enjoy the challenge, but I also enjoy the way they're created because it allows me to find the story. I don't know about you guys.
I'm used to stuff being spoon-fed to me, so this just FromSoft's very different for me. So I I'm not used to things being so open-ended in how you can interpret things in the story. So it's it's different, and I don't know. I'm not used to like the type of storytelling they do.
It's different. I will say it takes a minute to get used to it, but it's not for everyone. It definitely, I think I got tired of the linear way games were playing because I played a lot of like Assassin's Creed. Horror games are pretty linear. Well, older horror games were pretty linear. And I played a lot of games that, spoon-fed. And then when I played this, I was just like, huh?
Yeah, you got to go the extra mile to.
But I love it too because I like the challenge of not just the gameplay, but putting things together. It's like, big brain. I'm a smart girl. Let's go. But yeah, continue, Opti. Sorry to interrupt.
No, you're good. Yeah, no, Dark Souls 1, like, so Demon Souls was really, I just having read through the book You Died, which I highly recommend if you want a really good piece on sort of like how the early, like, Demon Souls and really early on Dark Souls kind of helped influence and change. Because really, Dark Souls didn't do anything different. It really just did things, or like, it didn't do anything that individual games hadn't done before. It has just done them in a very different combination and changed the way each of those things kind of work. So the game demands or expects a lot of you. It's very exacting, and it is throwing you in the deep end with expecting you to learn how to swim. And then once you learn how to swim, it becomes so much more exhilarating. And so there is that frustration of, like, what the fuck is weapon scaling? And also, what do you mean if something has an A in scaling, that's not the same percentage scaling as an A on another weapon in that same stat in scaling? What do you mean by that? There's all these like really weird esoteric things that the game does not give you that later games do a better job of explaining, to like kind of talk about Dark Souls 1 all the way up to Elden Ring. For better or worse. But there is that moment that you're kind of talking about where everything kind of falls into place, where you have to push through the wall and everything falls into place and it clicks and you go, oh, wow, no, like I kind of understand it. And there's this moment of triumph where you kind of grasp what the game is asking of you. Because the reality is I think anybody can beat Dark Souls. I think any person on the planet, and there's how many stories do you want of, hey, my 75-year-old dad who's never played a video game in his life picked up the controller and played it for 400 hours, and it took him that long to beat it the first time, but he loved every second of it. Or like my partner who has only ever played Stardew Valley picked it up and played through the whole thing and loved it, as frustrated as they were. There's something about it where it like respects your ability as a player and as a person to be capable of having interest in something and being inquisitive, and then also being able to persevere.
Yeah,
that is very unique to the Souls series that has inspired so many other games after it. And I think has caused like a pretty large shift in the gaming industry as a whole since then.
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely. I have never played these games. Like I said, I played very simple horror games, a lot of Fatal Frame, Resident Evil, you know, I grew up playing Crash Bandicoot and Spyro and Tomb Raider and
Hell yeah.
Castlevania, very retro games. I'm not going to show my age here. But it was very unique in its way, and I can tell you, I've cried, I've broken many controllers to FromSoft games, but not once have I ever said it was I probably said it was a garbage game, but at the end I'm like, you know what, that was sick. That was sick. I've never given up. And I don't know anyone who has actually given up on a FromSoft game ever. Like they complain, they bitch, they feel frustration, but once they beat it, they're like, "Fuck yeah, I'm the fucking goat."
That's me and Sekiro. Oh my god.
Sekiro, I will say Sekiro was its different beast. It's probably it's another fun FromSoft favorite of mine because it changed the way you kind of play your typical Dark Souls games. It was very challenging in its own right. I think I was stuck on the Great 8 for 2 days. It was one of the first games I ever streamed through completion. Actually, it is the first game I ever streamed to completion. It's actually what started my streaming career. And I thought it was impossible to play. And then I beat it. I did the true ending. I fought all bosses. And when I played it, I was like, I'm a bad bitch now. Bow down. Get on your fucking knees because I fucking did it. And I didn't think I could do it because I'm like, I'm not a good gamer. Like, I play games to, I get off work or get out of school or whatever the fuck it was. And I would play games to just escape reality. And then I play this game that made me work harder than I do in my day job.
Right?
But I felt more fulfilled. But we're not going to get into the depths of feeling more fulfilled in video games than your day job. But here we are. But yeah, no. And so when Elden Ring was released, kind of to segue back into Elden Ring, they kind of changed it in a way because the Dark Souls games and like Bloodborne are in their own right kind of linear. You have your areas that progress you into new areas. Level checks, weapon checks, that kind of thing. Elden Ring, the world is your fucking oyster. That's what I learned from it.
Open world game of FromSoft, right?
Would you say Opti is kind of their first open world? Yeah.
So people describe Dark Souls 1 as open world, and I wouldn't argue that Dark Souls 1 is open world. I would argue it as non-linear. I would say it's a non-linear game. Same with Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne. Because like open world to me is like you have complete freedom from where to go, as where Dark Souls 1 or even 2 or 3, you kind of you're almost like at the center of a wheel, and you have a spoke here and a spoke there and a spoke there, and you can travel down that one to a different center wheel, and you've got a spoke from there and a spoke from there that'll come back around to reconnect. So I don't necessarily consider it open world as much as I feel like a good portion of the community does, but I would consider it non-linear, and I would absolutely consider Elden Ring to be open world. As far as an open world game from FromSoft, from what I know between like Tenchu Z and like some other horror games and the Armored Core series, I would suggest that Elden Ring is their first like true open world game. Like, comparing it to something like, Skyrim and Breath of the Wild.
Yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Elden Ring to me was when I first booted it up, I was like, where do I go? Because when I played the Bloodborne and the Dark Souls games, I kind of found my own pathing. But when I opened up and when I started Elden Ring, I was like, the fuck? What? Huh? What is this? So big? the map's getting bigger. It keeps getting. Oh, it's getting bigger. It's just. It's
every map piece you find, you're like, how big is this fucking game?
Exactly.
Or you get transported somewhere, and it's like, where am I on the map? And you have to zoom out and out and out. And I'm like, oh my god.
Yeah, it was overwhelming to me
here.
because you don't really have maps in the other games, if at all. Like, you have fast travel, sure, but you don't actually get to see a map. And so when I booted up Elden Ring and I saw the map, I was like, there's a lot of, okay, I gotta find map fragments. And then when I get the map fragment, I'm like, what? Excuse the fuck me? Okay. And then it kept getting bigger, and it kept getting bigger, and I was like, please make it stop. Please, I don't. And the amount of options, I mean, Dark Souls games already have a great range of builds you can make. Elden Ring just like elevated that fucking shit. And I was just like, so it's gonna be one of those. And here I am. I own it both on PlayStation and on PC. Each have at least, PlayStation, I've done 5 playthroughs. Elden Ring, I've done... Okay, I said I wouldn't tell you how many playthroughs I have done, but I'm going to tell you now. PC, including modded, I've played modded versions of Elden Ring to make it harder. Don't ask me why. It's self-explanatory. I've done about another 8 playthroughs on PC. So, it's huge. I've learned pathing ways, of like, there's some shit I just don't give a shit about. I've done it several times. I skip it. It's not fruitful to what I'm trying to do. But yeah, it's massive, and it's in its own right. I still see people doing first playthroughs of it, and it's been 5 years now. It came out at the beginning of COVID, I believe.
Was it 2021 or 2022? I think it was. Oh, hold on, wait, I got it. Google foo, I got it. February 25th, 2022.
So it came out, kind of during COVID-ish times, and I like I said, I still see people doing playthroughs of it for their first time, or they're on their 100th playthrough, or they found, when I was doing research, I kid you not, I chatted at my friends. Did you know in the motherfucking DLC that you can get this weapon that does this fucking thing, but you gotta do this fucking quest, and you gotta... What the fuck? I'm going back in. And I told myself, after Nightreign came out, I'm not going back to Elden Ring unless, Tabby needed me, or someone's like, hey, Kate, can you help me? And I'm like, yeah, I got you. But I wasn't gonna do another playthrough, and now I'm like, you son of a bitch, now I gotta go fucking back in so I can get this goddamn weapon to do this fucking questline that I had no idea fucking existed, and I thought I did a thorough-ass playthrough. I was wrong. There's so much shit in that game that I have not experienced. And I have at least 700 to 800 hours in it.
It's sort of like the way, like, FromSoft does a lot of like really weird little things that you could potentially like never run into.
Yeah.
Like there is, I think an example that will always kind of stick in my mind is Dark Souls 2, I think, is the game I have the most time in. In Dark Souls 2, in the first DLC, there's a mechanic that is used for literally like 2 sections in the very beginning, where you hit these like little triangular pillars, and when you hit them, they raise buildings up and down that like you can use for platforming. There's one of them that if you hit it and ride it like differently than the way that the game wants you to, so it's like, oh, hit it so you can like build this pathway, but if you hit it and go down instead, there's a tree that's this fucked up looking tree, and it's just sitting at the end of this hidden cave at the bottom of this thing. And the only reason that it exists, if you use a whip specifically and hit it, it repairs your equipment. And that's the only thing that it does. I've been playing this game for like 10 years, and I didn't know that existed.
The fuck? I have played Dark Souls 2
I'm not even kidding you.
Several times, and I did like what I thought was a thorough. I didn't know that fucking existed. Shit. Now I gotta go play Dark Souls 2 again. God damn it. God, I gotta go
Yeah.
fucking back and like discover this goddamn tree. And that's the beauty of Souls-like game, like the Souls games. I'm not gonna say Souls-like games, but Souls games. Elden Ring. The more research I've done, the more I'm like, I swore to myself I wouldn't play Elden Ring again. You know, after playing Nightreign, I'm an Iron Eye main, and I just love the bow. I downloaded a mod that makes me use bows in Elden Ring like Iron Eye, and I'm like, you know what, son of a bitch, I'm in. And I downloaded a new mod for Elden Ring to play. It's called Reforge, and it just makes the game a lot harder, and it randomizes a little bit. And I'm like, we go in, boys. I'm gonna hate myself, but I'm going in, and I'm determined because I used to hate side quests. I used to hate having to scavenge because like open world games are a blessing and a curse. There's some open world games that just never fucking end. An example: Horizon Forbidden West. I couldn't do it. I loved the first one. Excited for the second. Started the second. I got 100 hours in. I still had another like 200. I was like, ain't no way. I don't want to commit this time. I'm done. And it was the same thing with Assassin's Creed Valhalla. And so open world games become jaded to me because I'm like, if you're going to make side quests, make them interesting. Witcher 3 is a perfect game for side quests because the side quests are actually what make the game, not the main story. That's my opinion. Humble opinion. I love the fucking Sherlock Holmes shit of like, okay, why did this monster kill this person? Or why did this person commit murder? Or why is this person having an affair? I was like, I want to be up in all kinds of business, you know? So open world became jaded to me. So when Elden Ring came out, I was overwhelmed. But now, you know, when I play a lot of games that I play now, I'm like, we're doing every fucking side quest, even if I hate it. I need to know. I need to have the things, the shinies. I want the shinies. Even if I don't fucking use them, I'm like, I will never use this great axe. I am a dagger player right now, but it's pretty. I like it.
Yeah, I'm playing just because I get so stressed thinking I'll miss something in terms of the story and characters, or I'll miss finding a character or finishing their story. I'm now using a walkthrough to get like 100% of all the characters and all the main missions at least.
I'm gonna head the angry comments off, valid and based.
Yep. I get a lot of like flack from people like, oh, you're using a guide like Claire Obscura. I was like, okay, I'm gonna look up a build guide, but I'm also gonna look up a guide to make sure like, okay, well, I just encountered this thing. This, you know, I want to know, how do I solve it? Is there a particular order? Because, you know, once if I progress the main story and I can't go back. So people are like, oh my God. I'm like, shut the fuck up. I paid money for this and I'm going to play it the way I want to fucking play it, you know? And the thing with Souls games, you know, if you don't look up a guide, you're going to miss a lot of shit. And you know what? You play it how you want it.
It doesn't tell you how. It's very vague in how to continue like a character story. Like it's like you can find an item in the middle of nowhere in Elden Ring and then talk to a character and like not know that you were supposed to give it to them.
Well, and it can also affect the ending. If you don't know, you know, Elden Ring has several endings, and a lot of games nowadays have multiple endings. So if you don't do certain fucking quest lines, you're fucked. Like once if I wanted the good ending, well, I didn't help fucking Timmy over here, and he's fucked now, and now I'm fucked because I get the bad ending. You're like, well, fuck me, I wanted the good ending. You know,
and
like,
you're like, there's a Timmy there the whole time. I had no idea.
Like, who the fuck is Timmy? Bob! I thought his name was Bob! Who's the fuck's Bob? You know, like, that's the thing. And
it
so,
does not hold your hand.
No, it makes you learn, like, a perfect thing Opti said is, like, it literally makes you learn how to swim. And if you don't figure it out, well, you fucking RIP, bro. Like, GG. Get good. But yeah, the lore, what also was a big thing for FromSoft for Elden Ring is they actually did a collaboration. They partnered up with George R. R. Martin, and if you don't know who George R. R. Martin is in Game of Thrones. We're not going to talk about the catastrophe of the show, but but they teamed up to help write the story. And as I was doing the research, I was like, yeah, this is George R. R. Martin. Fucking, I see his fucking toes up in this shit. Yeah, see his fucking nasty little grim
The
fingers in here.
incest.
He's in there. Yeah, incest is definitely one of them. But I mean, that's a classic thing in history, anyways. You know, noble
Yeah.
families keep it in the family because blood is thicker than water. So I don't know. I, I I don't think he's a terrible author. I appreciate the things that he's created, but when I looked at this, like, yeah, this is some fucking this is some Martin shit. Yep, and what I'm alluding to is you have this general arcing theme of you wake up as a tarnished and you're traveling through the lands between and you're trying to hypothetically based on the ending that you go through the original thought of when you start the game is like, oh, I'm gonna save the Erd tree and put the ring back together and yay, happiness.
Clean up a family's therapy.
Their fucking sins and traumas they've created and ruin that they've created. But also, as you go through the game and you meet these NPCs, you start hearing their perspectives, what they went through and all the shit that happened. So you're left with all these choices of like, well, do I fuck up the Erd tree, save the Erd tree? What the fuck am I gonna do? So, a lot, and then you get into, as you learn about the people who created this calamity, I'm gonna call it a calamity, you're just like, huh? The nomenclature of shit in this game crack me up.
Yeah, definitely take notes at home.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a lot of the names sound exactly the same.
Oh my god.
So do you want to start off with some family trees?
Yeah, it's okay.
I'll lead it.
Oh, so yeah. The briefest possible history. I guess, do we include the Big Bang or do we talk about like the shattering and what actually leads to like the events of Elden Ring is the question.
You know what? You pick, and we'll go with it. It's a whole. If you want to do the whole kit and caboodle, do the whole kit and caboodle. You want to give them a cliff notes. It's a lot.
A lot of the cosmology of Elden Ring is not entirely revealed until the DLC. There is a hint that so if you're completely unversed in Elden Ring lore, the world that you go into, the lands between, is governed by the Golden Order. And the Golden Order is exactly what it sounds like. It is an order that is clad in gold. That is their moniker. That's what's on everything that's what's on everything that they themselves, they own. It's the symbol that it stands for all that is good, all that is gold. Quotes on good. And what stands at the center of the land between is the Erd tree, which is a tree that you can see from literally any point above ground in Elden Ring. It is so massive, it does not matter where you are. If you are above ground, you can see it. And the Erd tree, came from a seed that was planted by an entity known as the Greater Will. And to keep all of that fairly simple, there is a very subtle, for probably about 90% of the base game, hint that the Greater Will and a lot of the other outer gods that you kind of run into and find acolytes of and influence of are more or less Lovecraftian entities. They are just gods that are unknowable, not fully understandable. They have benevolent sides. They have like very horrific and unforgiving sides. And all of those stem from one single like cosmic point of the Great One, depending on how you subscribe to that theory. And so the Greater Will was landed in the lands between and has behind the scenes been trying to influence the world from even before the time of the Golden Order. So fast forward through all of that, when you wake up as a tarnished, as an unnamed tarnish, which are a group of people that were not given grace. So a group of people that the Golden Order and the Greater Will have forsaken. You wake up and are suddenly being able to see grace again as where the rest of the land is unable to. And this is after an event called the Shattering, where Marika, who was the queen of the Golden Order, so she herself was the most deified god, and arguably considered one of the only people that could be a god in the lands between, physically broke the Elden Ring. The Elden Ring is both a force and a physical object. And so she removed death, the part of the Elden Ring that would cause people to die, and then broke the Elden Ring. And that's a fascinating topic because I'm pro America, but that's a whole other story.
Not me. Not me. Anti.
But America, for reasons unknown, breaks the Elden Ring. It causes an entire like a power vacuum, and then she herself is locked away and punished by the Greater Will. And then you wake up and you can see the grace, and everybody's telling you, "Oh, hey, you can see the grace. The Greater Will is calling you to become the next Elden Lord. You should go do that." And so the game is spent with you traversing the lands between, trying to find great runes wherever they may be. They are typically associated with either one of Marika's children or Radagon's children or Renala's children, and those are all three important names. And then claiming those great runes, and then going to take the seat of the throne and become Elden Lord, or subverting the Golden Order altogether with your choices. Marika, early on, Marika took a husband with Godfrey, who was we have evidence that he was, and I forget what they're named, but there's basically like a race, like a not a race, like a faction of barbarians in the Shadow Realm the Shadow Plateau, Shadow Realm. It's the Shadowlands. Gosh, in the Shadowlands of the DLC, that potentially he led a faction of those barbarians, came to power, and then he was the first Elden Lord alongside Marika, and then they had some children together. He at some point was cast out, no longer the Elden Lord himself, and then Marika came to have Radagon as the next consort. So the next sort of like person that she took to be alongside her in the throne. And then he not only has kids with her, but he leaves her at one point and then has a union with Renala, who is a fairly powerful entity who leads the Carrion Manor, which is a sort of like its own school of magic school that exists in the lands between, independently of the Golden Order. And they are arguably as powerful as the Golden Order. There are numerous times where the Golden Order and the Carrion Manor and the sorcerer school, Rhea Lucaria, have clashed, and the Golden Order is beaten back nearly every time. And when they do end up taking over, there is even a power struggle there where it's kind of a back and forth as to who's taking the reins. So that's the long short of it. But yeah.
Yeah, and just to kind of, to add a little bit of my research, is when Marika married Godfrey, they had their kids. They had Godwyn, Moog. God, I have a long list. I tried to make a family tree. It's very hard because everyone's having babies with. Anyways, so her and Godfrey had Godwyn the Golden and twins Marga and Mo. The twins were born of an accursed omen, so they are called, if you see them, called the Felled Omen, blah, blah, blah. And so they were hidden in the depths of the capital. So if as you progress through Elden Ring, you get to the capital. If you go underneath, you do meet Margot for sure. But you meet these omen. They're really like deformed individuals, and these are demigods. And Godwyn is actually, when you meet him, his physical form is dead, and he is the reason why Deathblight exists in the Land Between, and why it's corrupting the lands. So he was killed by actually Ronnie, who is, we'll get into Ronnie later.
Oh, God.
Ronnie created basically the Black Blades, and you meet a lot of the Black Blade knife assassins. They killed Godwyn, who's Godwyn the Golden, who then Deathblight becomes a thing, and then people start worshiping. He's called like the god of death. Anyways, that's Godwyn. You can, if you do a certain quest line, what the fuck is her name in the Round Table Hold? Oh god. Fia, if you do her quest line, you can actually grant Godwyn's soul release. You kill him and all that, and his soul goes to whatever. Deathblight still exists, but there's like a whole cult around the Deathblight. Okay. So Godfrey, like Opti said, was kicked out after, and the rumor, like kind of theories, is why Marika banished him, was hope that he would come back as tarnished, because he's like, was supposed to be like the first tarnished, supposedly, and become, fix everything and become the Elden Lord. That's my understanding. So she has those three with Godfrey, and then like she gets with Radagon, who I believe, didn't he leave Renala, or he was with Marika and then
Radagon was with Renala first, and then went to
so he had three children. He had three children with Renala. He had Ronnie, Rykard, and Radon. And then with Radagon got with Marika, they had Mikola and Melania.
And Melina.
And Melina.
Oh my goodness.
Okay. Now Radagon, it is theorized, is the male version or something of Marika. So she basically fucked herself and had three kids.
Somehow produced it's like and we don't know if Radagon was their own person the whole time, or if they became a part of Marika, right?
So it is completely safe to say that Radagon and Marika are the same entity, are the same person, and are the same entity but different at the same time.
Yeah.
The DLC shines a lot of light on this because of Mikola and Saint Trina.
Yep.
Early on, there was a lot of data mining that sort of even before there was data mining, there was like theories that Mikola and Saint Trina were the same person, and that either Mikola was acting as Saint Trina, like as this benevolent, like deity of sleep and slumber and peacefulness. And then from like data mining, it became more clear that they may or may not be the same entity. And so one of the things that is becoming apparent, or that is apparent in Elden Ring lore, is that a lot of these godlike entities, in this case, Marika and Radagon, who the most telling thing is when you fight Radagon in the last cutscene, you walk in and it's Marika's golden hair, and as the cutscene plays out, you watch as the hair turns from red to gold. Mm-hmm. Which blew my mind the second time I played the game, because I didn't notice that at all.
Yeah, and same.
So it's and this does actually tap into how in a lot of real world mythologies there are instances of gods that are dual personalities and dual entities of two beings as one that can self-procreate. And so that's kind of coming to play in this, as where it is not out of place to say that Radagon and Marika are the same person. And so you have this of Radagon, yes, does go to see Renala, but then Marika is also to some degree aware of this. And then when you do see that at some point, Mikola sheds Saint Trina off to become his godlike self, um, we kind of get an idea of how that works in a way.
Yeah, and a big thing that should be noted is basically all the children that America birth have an affliction. Um, One of the big things is, like I said, the Omen twins. Uh, uh, I think Godwin was probably the only one that didn't really have like a really. I don't want to say severe affliction, but when you look at Rykard, he became obsessed and some fucked up shit. But Melania and Mikola have their own afflictions. Melania, she has the rotting sickness, and Mikola has eternal childhood. The only, and this is going to go into the DLC, the only child of America that did not have an affliction, and part of the reason why Mikola chose him to be his consort is because Radahn didn't have any affliction. He was kind, he had marital prowess, he was strong. He was probably one of the only child of America to not have any fucked up affliction from whatever. I don't know how they got the afflictions. I don't think there's. Do you know?
Well, it's so part of it is I don't know specifically, or if we do or don't know, because it's as far as everything goes, Godwin, I don't know whether or not he was afflicted. Morgott and Mohg were born with the Omen affliction, so they had the horrible horns that would grow out of them. And so there's a relation back to the Crucible, which is a whole other thing, having to deal with that. And then Radagon and Rennala have Rykard, Ranni, and Radahn. And even them, they're all pretty sound as far as things go. But yeah, it's more than likely it's like the self-incestuous god aspect of it that I think would trigger that aspect of it, of because even Melina herself was more or less produced to try and be used as the same maiden for purposes of being used inside the Erd Tree, and she even herself says that she was birthed inside the Erd Tree. So more than likely it has to do with whatever caused the same things that happened to other births with gods and things of that nature. But
yeah, and Marika and her children, it is kind of hinted towards in the game that she instructed her demigod children to fight for the positions of Elden Lord and that of godhood. So when you encounter their children, and I'm excluding Ranni, Rykard, and Radahn because they're not Marika's children, but the Omens are they're fighting to be Elden Lord, and so I found that very interesting. And I didn't know. I know that she wanted to get rid of death. That was part of the Golden Order, was to get rid of death. That she used her half-brother, Micholith, if I'm pronouncing that right, who you encounter, as to kind of hold back death. And that is, I think, isn't that part of the shattering?
I cannot speak to that, no. I'm not sure.
It's a lot. There's so much. Because then you
haven't even touched on the fingers yet.
Well,
yeah, that's the whole thing.
The fingers, you learn about the fingers in the base game, but you get more answers of it in the DLC. So there's the mother of fingers. I can't remember her fucking name. Do you remember her name?
Metter,
who birthed the fingers because she was the messenger from the greater will, or whatever that being is. And then he basically, the greater will abandoned her, and she couldn't birth these fingers. But another thing too is that the fingers are actually what guided Marika to become to start the Golden Order. So she got that message from the greater will, from the mother of fingers. But then you have to throw in, now we got to throw in the flame, the frenzy flame, which
With the
is
frenzied flame and the rot goddess, and
yeah, it gets crazy because a lot of things, there's a lot of conflict, and what was an interesting thing, the Lord of Frenzy Flame is an ending. You meet 3 fingers, so the fingers you usually meet in the base game are 2 fingers, and there's not like actual fact as to why the Mother of Fingers couldn't birth like a full fucking hand of fingers. But then you have the frenzy fingers, that's 3, and then you have the quote unquote golden fingers. I'm just gonna call them the golden finger. That's such a weird thing. Have 2, which
Fingers are just weird in the first place. Okay.
yeah, they
I
vibrate. It's unsettling.
they just look. There's like hair all over. I don't know. It's weird.
yeah. So there's that, and then you have to get into the Age of Stars, and the stars that made the Carrion wizards and mages and whatever go crazy, because if they wanted to find the truth, then the truth actually destroyed their minds and them, and there's a lot to Elden Ring. There's a lot. Yeah.
Once again, very Lovecraftian too. That like
Very.
knowledge is
Yeah.
knowledge is what helps you understand, but then also understanding like how the universe works is what ultimately destroys your ability, like your grasp of the universe.
Yep. It's like a blessing and a curse.
On reality.
Yeah, it's a thing. So yeah, so that's a thing.
That's the long short of it.
Yeah.
I didn't
And
really think of the whole thing as Lovecraftian until you
it
explained
is.
it.
So
Like,
yeah.
I know Bloodborne is very Lovecraftian. I didn't think about this as Lovecraftian too.
Well,
So now,
and
interesting.
And it's
Yeah.
interesting, as I've talked to a lot of people about Lovecraft, because I'm a huge fan, own many books. And I ask them, what is your initial thoughts of Lovecraftian? They think of like Cthulhu, they think of monsters. But what people don't realize is that H.P. Lovecraft was really into ultra dimension, multiverse, like deep cosmic, not just horror, but like these ideas. And those have inspired, of course, Bloodborne and Elden Ring, but a lot of different shows, books, and stuff. So there's a lot of, I would consider Lovecraft to be more cosmic than it would be like your typical monsters. Like, sure, these beings in the universes are like, I don't know, what we would consider grotesque by norms, societal norms, but it's very interesting to have this whole cosmic thing, because I know, like, if you do Ronnie's quest line and you get to Noxia, the underground city that was banished from the light, from the Erdtree light, there's a lot of cosmic shit, and it's crazy. So when I played Nightreign, you fight the demi-humans, and we call him Little Yoda, the little fucker with a goddamn starlight sword that's a little pain in the ass. And actually, if you go into the lore, demi-humans are actually considered somewhat intelligent. The Carrion students actually taught them magic, gave them magic. And so what happened was, with main Yoda, there's also many Yodas. Main Yoda, I'm sorry, I don't know his fucking name. There's too many fucking names, okay?
I don't either. I
tried to make a list of names. I was like, you know what? Fucking forget it. I'm going to give him my names that I call him in the game. He actually went insane trying to find the truth behind the stars. And then his apprentice didn't want to believe in the truth, and he was locked up in the DLC. When you play the DLC, you'll go into what's called Bonnie Village, and you encounter these guys in these dungeons. And the lore behind it is the main Yoda went to find the truth, and he lost his mind. And if you come across it starts with a U. I think I'm gonna call it Humor. I don't know his name. But you come across him in the DLC, and he wants to be the Mother of Fingers.
Emir.
Emir. He wants to become the Mother of Fingers. And he tells you, kind of in a very fucking convoluted way, that those who seek the truth they basically go fucking insane. It's, and
Oh, like, okay, like cosmic horror kind
yeah,
of thing.
cosmic, I think that's a neat element when you're you're going through your tarnished shit. You're, of course, if you do everyone loves Ronnie. She's waifu to everybody. I particularly don't give a shit, but Ronnie's waifu. And if you do her, she wants to escape her fate. She kills her fingers, right? And if you do her quest line, and if you do her ending, instead of fucking rebuilding the Elden Ring, you like, what the fuck, bring the Age of Stars or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the interesting thing is that there's so much emphasis placed on like the physical movement of like the stars that exist outside of whatever the planetary body is that we only see the land, like the landmass that we're on, and we know there's other lands outside of the lands between, because we like the tarnished aren't there. The tarnished are somewhere else and then come back. We know about the land of reeds. So we know that like there are other planetary bodies that exist. And so it's kind of interesting that Radon halts the stars with like his gravitational force. And there's a lot of kind of ways that Radon's halting of the stars plays into a whole bunch of different people's plans, or could accidentally play into other like big movers and shakers plans. But then also we talked about like how people like the astrologers and like the early sorcerers physically studied the stars, learned about sorcery, and learned about where life came from and lost their minds from it. And it's like kind of interesting to think about like the physical study of like astral bodies is somehow also related to like sort of like these invisible forces as well that exist within that universe.
Yeah,
and then you have Ronnie's ending that is to like Ronnie's ending ultimately tries to undo that and usurp that, because the greater will. And the one thing I think is interesting is I wonder if Ronnie knows that the greater will. So one thing that's kind of been glossed over in the million different plot points that we're discussing is that Metter was the first thing, like the first entity of the greater will to land in the lands between. That was, and she was supposed to be the thing that dispensed the greater will's like the greater will's will, for lack of a better word. But Metter very early on, long before like potentially eons before, or not eons, but like centuries, maybe eons before America took over, Metter was damaged and her link to the greater will was shattered. And so everything that happened from whenever that happened all the way up to what we do or undo at the end of the game when we roll credits, all of that was all done based on outdated information from the greater will. So we actually don't know what the greater will more or less wants from the tarnished and wants from the golden order. So I think it's kind of, I'm having a thought inside of a thought of, I wonder if Ronnie knows that. But I think it's interesting that like Ronnie's intent was to create an age of stars to try to pull the rest of the world away from the greater will and away from the influence of the cosmos.
Yeah, now that I think about it, I do remember in one of Vati's videos or something I read, the weapon that Ronnie uses to kill the fingers is rumored to be the weapon that actually initially injured the mother of fingers, and that's what led to her abandonment, or whatever you want to call it, separation from the greater will.
I'm just glad that I'm here listening and kind of contributing to you guys talking about all of this, because it's definitely helping me understand the characters and the story better as I'm on my fourth playthrough attempting to finish the game. So I think it's really helping me out here just talking through things. I
Yeah.
just wanted to let you guys know.
Yeah, and I I realize we forgot one child of America. We have forgotten a child.
Oh, yeah, we have, haven't we?
Sure have. I'll let you handle it. And
Vlad the Impaler, I mean Mesmer.
yep, Mesmer.
Happy Taylor. I do not know about this because I do not know the DLC.
So we're actually, I think it's a great segue into the DLC. I do want to mention though, at the end of the base game, when you whatever ending you do choose, you do have to fight something after Radagon, which is called the Elden Beast. I'm not gonna. I could give you my hot takes of Elden Beast, but a little lore on Elden Beast is that it was the Elden Beast was actually sent down from the Greater Will, and Elden Beast is actually the physical. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Opti. The physical he's the Elden Ring. He's the actual.
It's yeah, it's more or less like a manifestation of it, essentially.
Yeah. Hot take: Elden Ring's a shit boss, but don't at me at that.
Okay.
Listen, I feel like everybody hates it. I like it, but
I like it now that I know it lore wise. Yes, but when I first played the game and I was fighting Radagon, I was like, hell yeah! And then Elden Beast showed up. I was like, the fuck is this shit? And then when I fought it, I was like, this isn't epic to me. This is actually frustrating. Give me something, when you fight Soul of Cinder or the Nightmare in Bloodborne. Those are some fucking. They make you sweat. Elden Beast. I was like, I literally just want you to die so I can be done. But lore wise, I'm like, oh, okay. I don't hate you as much anymore, just a little bit, because I think you're a cheap ass boss. But you have lore, so it's fine. But it's a perfect segue into the DLC, which I didn't know until I did the research now, that the DLC fills in a lot of holes and makes the base game so much more clear. So much more. But Opti, I will let you dive into this, because I only looked up Mesmer and Mikola, and that was it.
oh yeah, and I will say the lore as a whole, or like the DLC lore, I'm fairly shaky on.
Mm-hmm.
But I do, to be fair, my Elden Ring lore I have consumed quite a bit. It is not as ingrained as like Dark Souls lore is for me, but yeah, no, the DLC, there's a lot of ambiguity. Like the DLC, with every single fucking DLC FromSoft has ever released, it answers tons of base game questions and then raises questions we are never going to get answers to.
Yep.
But there's a lot of really cool stuff where like we learn about like where America comes from. We learn about like her rise to power, about her deification. We learn about some of like the underlying forces that exist potentially, even aside from the Greater Will. There is something called the Crucible, which is mentioned a lot in the base game, and there was some early theories suggest that it was a physical place. There were some early theories that suggested it was more of potentially a concept or a force. But then we learned that it's more likely that it is kind of tangential to. Also, just an aside, I am having like horrible storms right now, so if I cut out, I lost power potentially. Just as a heads up.
Not a problem.
But we learned that the Crucible itself is a force of nature, and it's sort of like a binding force that exists within the world, like the greater world of Elden Ring. Now, whether or not it's an aspect of of the Greater Will, it seems, at least from my understanding, that it exists. It is not part of the Greater Will, because there are some efforts for the greater will and like its influence to try and sort not contain or coerce, but like to like amalgamate it into itself. The Crucible is this. I think the best way to describe it is just what if you got all of nature and threw it into a mixing bowl and just kind of like mushed it all up into a gray paste and then distributed it to everybody. It shows up in the base game with like the demi-humans and some of the other sort of more like primate-like entities that exist. It shows up in some of the incantations used by the Inquisitor faction that exists in the land of like the Shadow Air Tree, and it's categorized by like the horns that come up, the wings that come up, the claws that come up, and different incantations as well. And so there's almost this like want or desire to return to where that came from by different creatures or even like studied peoples of the game, like proper, and the DLC, and sort of an understanding of that. And there's attempts to control it, there's attempts to usurp it, and so there's this like other kind of force that's butting up against the influence of the greater will that kind of exists. And so the crux of the DLC is that Marika came from a village of shamans in the hidden portion of the land of the Shadow Altus area, and rose to power over time, and actually existed alongside a race of, I'm gonna have to like fact check the name.
It's like Hortson or something.
Oh, the Hornsent. That's it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the Hornsent. So the Hornsent were sort of like a dominating force in the Shadow Altus area. So Marika rose up alongside of them. There's evidence that she did collaborate with them in her rise, and there's even the gate that actually was potentially used to deify her that we actually get wind of in one of the game's trailers is also present there as well. So we do know that there was a positive relationship there, but the Hornsent also did a lot of they have an Inquisitor force that actually would go out and terrorize and even commit like genocidal acts against different groups of people that existed in the Shadowlands. And so Marika did end up turning on them, sealing them away, and even shutting them down. And then she sent her child Mesmer, who we really didn't know about. There were hints at Mesmer in the base game, and she sent her child Mesmer to basically go on an endless crusade against all of the different peoples that she was opposed to in that land. And so when we land there in oh good heavens, when we land there, we're kind of navigating what is remaining of all of that and trying to make sense of like the different parts of, we're looking at what could potentially be an understanding of how like the frenzied flame works, one of the outer gods that has to deal with madness and chaos. We're looking at the aspects of the Crucible and that as like another potential opposing or just existing force within the world of Elden Ring. We're looking at Mesmer and his crusade, and it being this covert operation that is existing in an alternate sealed away reality away from the lands between. And we're looking at some other smaller operations of things like the perfumers, who kind of come a little bit more into force in this as well. And then also, the reason we're going into the DLC is to follow Mikola the Kindly, and we're following Mikola's footsteps throughout the DLC, and in an attempt to see what's going on. And so we're learning about all of that, and ultimately we're learning about what it takes to become a god as well, which is apparently horrific, one-sided genocide. And a willingness to sacrifice what it is that makes you, which is really apparent in following Mikla's footsteps and his journey to actually reach deification.
Yep. Yep.
Hmm.
And Mikla, in the base game, my interpretation, and I know from several others I've spoken to, when you kind of encounter him, you see kind of like his form when you encounter Millennia. And then if you explore enough, you meet Moog, which is kind of the blood omen who takes the body, and you're not sure why he takes the body of Mikla. You learn in the DLC, like Opti said, that Mikla is trying to be deified. He wants to become a god of compassion. He wants to create an age of compassion. And so the whole thing, he's making Radahn, who's his half brother, his consort, and it turns out.
Wait, does a consort mean
a husband?
So it can.
Yes.
Not
So are they
always though.
half-brothers?
Yeah. In a sense, his
Aren't they half brothers?
yes, incest.
Yeah.
We could just say ruling partner.
He's the one that is eternally youthful.
Yes.
He's a child.
Oh, great.
He will always be a child. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, so incest. Do we know? And the thing is, what actually blew my mind, because when I first heard that, I was like, ew, gross. Why? Okay, well, that's what nobles do. Whatever the fuck. Whatever. But it turns out that in order for Radahn to enter that realm, he needed to die an honorable death. So hence, the festival in the base game where you fight Radahn, honorable death, Radahn sent to the fucking Shadowlands, so he can become the consort. The reason why Mikla chose Radahn is because, one, he's not afflicted with anything, but he is honorable, he's strong, he has the martial prowess. He's the perfect
He likes animals.
He's the perfect consort in a sense, right? And thus he can create an age of compassion because he doesn't want the lands between to keep repeating the sins of his mother, essentially. And so that's why you meet a lot of people, like a lot of NPCs in the DLC, who are like, "Oh, Mikla, woo, I'm fanboying. Oh, I love you." And the whole time I'm like, "Fuck this guy." But as I learned the lore, I'm like, you know what? I'm about it. Team Mikla, fuck America. In a sense, not entirely, but that's kind of the general overall of the DLC. But you also learn origins of the Frenzy Flame. We also learn, curse you, Bale. There, you also learn.
Oh God, the best that man put his whole ass into that voice acting.
If you do not summon that motherfucker in that fight, you are missing out on fucking pure cinema.
It's also a rough fight without him too. Good
sure,
Lord.
That fight fucking cooked my ass. But the DLC,
that's a chunky fight.
The DLC is not easy. It elevates the base game by, I say, almost 50%. If you don't fucking learn how to play the base game, you ain't gonna have fun. Because it
is tough. It is probably the hardest fight.
Multi.
Well, if you need help, TabiiKat, got you. Yes. But yeah, so you meet a lot of, like Opti said, you meet a lot of these NPCs and these stories, and it fills in gaps, but it also leaves me with a lot more fucking questions. One thing, and maybe Opti, who the fuck is Mesmer's dad?
I would assume Radigan. I don't know, but I would assume Radigan.
He's
because
very
of the red hair.
Yeah, the similarity. Mesmer's my favorite boss fight next to Bale. But I summoned the guy. I'm not gonna tell you who it is, Tabby, and I also just don't know his fucking name. Just curse you, Bale! And you're just like, fuck yeah, let's go! And then he claps your ass, and you're like, oh, gotta go in again. But you learn that Bale, who's a dragon, it actually has injuries. And if you play the base game and you fight the great dragon Placidusax and Bale got into a fight and they fucked each other up. So Placidusax missing a head. Bale is missing a wing, or his arm's fucked up. Can't remember.
He doesn't have an arm.
Yeah. And it turns out they got into a fight. Placidusax fucked Bale up, but also Bale fucked him up.
I thought you said that. I dead ass thought you were going to say that Bale fucked Placidusax, and I was like, I don't know if it went down like that.
No, Placidusax, I'm pretty sure.
And then they fucked.
No.
Like what Renala did with the other guy.
Radigan. Fight. Kiss.
Mwah.
So
but
romantic.
An interesting thing about Placidusax is he's actually rumored to be the first Elden Lord because he actually held the Golden Order from the Greater Will into him. But then something fucking happened. Oh, Marika popped up and was like, surprise, motherfucker.
Not even rumored. It is like Placidusax is the first Elden, or at least the earliest Elden Lord that we know of. The weird thing is we don't know what Placidusax, because it's like interesting. It's like, we know like how a human society works in like a fantasy medieval time, but like what is eons prior run by dragons look like?
That would be so fucking sick, to be honest. But here we are. Imagination. But yeah, so you meet a lot of different things and you see a lot of origins in the DLC. I thought the area for the Frenzy Flame shit was creepy and fucking well done.
Oh,
so fucking sick.
That's my favorite part of the whole DLC.
Oh, hands down. Hands fucking down. I did like the archives. I didn't like the enemies in the archives. Fuck those flame bitches. But the archives were really cool to go through and all that. But yeah, and I also I felt like the bosses and everything in the DLC, granted they're 10 times harder, were just fucking dope. Like the lion dancer, sick. Sick, clap my ass a few times.
Some of my favorite From Software boss fights are in the DLC.
The DLC,
some of my favorite like soundtracks are from the DLC.
Oh yeah.
Like it is very, very difficult. The other thing is it doesn't actually use it's not a level-based progression system. It is an item-based progression system. Which makes it hard in some aspects, but then also it's like, oh, I'm not supposed to, like, it is very apparent that you're not supposed to be certain places at different points.
Yeah.
Like even more so than like the base game.
Yeah, and people call it skadu. It's actually an own English word, and it's shadu. I learned that. Oh, thank you, Vati. Because I was like, I need a skadu fragment, and it's shadu.
I call them skidoo fragments just to fucking make people like chew on their belt. Yeah, angry.
I'm like, I mean, Old English. My aunt used to study Old English, and I used to help her translate it. And I was like, it makes sense. And I forgot the meaning. You have to watch the Vati video, but it means like this. The shadu fragments are what give you attack power in the DLC. So that's what he means. You encounter, the more shadu fragments you have, the more attack power you have. It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter if you upgrade your weapons, but ultimately, if you don't want to fucking get your ass handed to you, you need some shadu fragments. Skiddly do fragments, So
I had no idea.
Fragments.
Yep. And this area had, one thing that's different from Dark Souls game that Elden Ring does is you have your main bosses, but you also have bosses and so like throughout the world and in your caves, at your ruins, you have bosses everywhere. And it's the same thing with the DLC. Is you'll just be like, oh, look at me, I'm a pretty flower, I'm going to explore. And then some big ass hippo's like, surprise, motherfucking bitch slaps your ass. And you're just like, there's not a grace nearby. So, but there's a lot of interesting lore. And I do say the Shadowlands are very, very dark. Not just because they're called the Shadowlands, but it's not a forgotten place, but it's definitely a place that it's fucked up. It's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, there's a lot of really heavy topics in the DLC. Like there is a lot of like eugenics are hinted at, genocide is hinted at as well, and like mass executions. There's a lot of like religious connotations too, especially with like the Inquisitor squads from the Horn Scent. Like the entire like Madness area is based around that and its influence. And there's definitely a lot of that, and then it does play into like the whole madness aspect of it too. We talked about earlier with like Count Emir and like him losing his mind with like looking like kind of looking into how the universe works, and then him realizing how the universe works, and then just him breaking right in front of you if you do his quest line.
And then you also, a big thing that I thought was probably one of the darkest is when you go into the dungeons, you see these jars filled with meat and flesh.
Oh yeah, you get to learn how Alexander's made. It's not great.
Oh God.
It's a bad time.
Oh no, Alexander! Oh my God. Now I know what you're talking about.
It's fucked up.
About also with the what is it? Ronnie's one of her like the stupid mage guy that reports to Ronnie.
Surveil or something?
Celovus.
Yeah. Celovus, yes. In his whole quest that you can do with Selen.
Oh yeah.
It's fucked up.
It's dark, dude.
Shit's fucked up. Did not care for it. Fascinating, but did not care for it.
Yeah, but if you want those summons, you gotta do it.
Sure do.
Well, when I always get to that part, I just make the dung eater a summon.
Yeah, you could do the dung eater ending too.
Pretty good fucking summon.
He's boss bitch.
Cause fuck the dung eater.
I
loved him. I loved him.
Really?
I loved him.
Oh yeah.
He's fucking sick. Like, granted, he is a piece of shit. No pun intended. But I found him out of all the NPCs in the base game. Might even argue the DLC. He's a bad bitch, dude.
Fascinating.
Listen, like as much of a goody two shoes of a person as I am, like favorite character My Hero Academia, Dobby, like Dung Eater, fucking absolutely love the vibes. Like Gaara, favorite Naruto character, just like the fucked up like I am 14 and just watched like the Dark Knight characters. I'm a sucker for them.
I love the villains. I love the fucked up individuals because it's like every game I play, I always do a good ending. But I think Baldur's Gate's the only one that I went into like the dark urge. But even though I struggled a bit to be like, kill this innocent person, I'm like, but, and they're like, kill him. I'm like, all right. And then when I did, I was like, wow, I feel guilty. But at the end of the day, I fucking love them, and I love Dung Eater. He's fucked up, but goddamn, he's like probably one of the most interesting. Definitely very, very interesting, and yeah, what a guy, what a lad.
As long as you don't like the guy that makes the dolls.
Oh, Celovus?
Yeah, as long as you don't like Celovus.
I mean, I only hate him because he's a fucking bitch when you fight him. He runs away, little fucker. Fight me like a man.
I always give his potion to Gideon every time because I'm like, no, I don't want to give it to Nefeli because I love Nefeli.
Nefeli's a homie, bro. Yeah, I did it once where I did that thing for him, and I was like, you know what? I hate it. And then now I give it to Gideon, even though Gideon's a piece of shit. I still give it to Gideon. I'm like, handle this. Go deal with it. Fuck this guy. No, you the DLC, they're the NPCs that you meet in there. The only one I liked was the merchant guy who doesn't really talk,
Oh, yeah.
and you save his little shrimp friends.
Yes.
He was the only homie. Freya was okay. A little bit, but I only did her quest line so she would fight with me against the other fuckers. So, but they have important lore, but it's too many. There's too many of them. But
There's only 11 of them, or 8 or whatever.
8 too many. But yeah, the DLC, like, and you learn that Mikola carefully planned. He planned that Mo would kidnap him or take his body, so that he could do the whole Shadow Realm. He planned on Radahn. Him and Radahn planned on Radahn dying honorably, so Radahn become his consort in the Shadowlands, and all of this was actually, a lot of that was planned out, because you don't know why. You're like, why is there a festival to fight Radahn? Like, you don't know any of that, really. You're just like, huh? I thought it was just a way to open the fucking to get to Noxia. That's only part of it.
Yeah,
well,
I didn't know.
it's framed as like like Radahn has just been like, his mind has been lost to the Scarlet Rot. It's like a way to put him to rest, and then a true warrior will be able to fight him and kill him and kind of like end his life, as he kind of is in a state of essentially in a state of unlife. He's not undead, but he's just like torn apart by like the frenzy, like the not the frenzy, like the Crimson Rot. He's still holding, like, his existence is still holding back the movement of the stars. And so, like, with his death, the whole thing is Mikola has one of the things that came with Mikola and with Mikola's other side, Saint Trina, is the power of suggestion. And so the power, like this ability to kind of influence people for better or worse. And so he used Moog and influenced Moog behind the scenes to more or less either, I want to say, fall in love with him, because it feels like they're trying to push like this incestuous thing, and it does feel vaguely like that, but it's not necessarily like that. It is that way. It very well could be that way, but at the same time, it's Moog wanting to at least be by Mikola's side as Mikola's consort. But the reality is, yes, it's Moog. He influenced Moog to steal Mikola influenced Moog to steal Mikola's corpse from where his resting place is, and then take him away. And then while that was happening, hopefully somebody would come along who would be able to defeat Radahn, so that both of them could be reborn in in the DLC, so that they could both be gods together, and then take over. And the thing that I find is most interesting is, while you're following Mikola through the DLC, is that you're finding pieces of Mikola left behind, and all of the things that you find, some of them are things like, I'm leaving my inhibitions, or I'm leaving my fears. But then you're starting to find things that Mikola is leaving behind that people desired and loved about Mikola. And then so it kind of raises the question of, is the reborn god Mikola going to be the same one that everybody fell in love with, and the one that will be able to rule, and create the kingdom that beforehand he had so hard and tried to fought for, by leaving the Golden Order, by making the Halig Tree, and trying to make like an otherwise utopian world.
Yeah, an age of compassion or something. That's what he called it, I think. Yeah, and that's like the biggest question, because as he's leaving these things behind, like, who is he now? What is he? And that question still lingers in my mind. Like, what was Radahn gonna do other than be like kind of like the strength and all that behind Mikola? And my other question is as you're going through the lands of between, no matter what ending you do, the fuck are you gonna rule? Everyone's fucked up. Everything's in ruin. Everything's shit. What the? Like,
just a bunch of ashy motherfuckers walking around like.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what? It's a cycle that just keeps going, right? And it's the same thing with like the Dark Souls games. What the fuck are you? You beat the fucking boss, and you're just like, all right, fuck this flame, you know? And another interesting for you, Tabby, is you encounter a boss fight in the DLC, and it turns out it is Renala's sister.
What?
Yeah.
There's a sister?
She got a sister, and she got hands, bro.
One of my favorite fights in all of Elden Ring. It's a great fight.
But
it's a really good fight.
The DLC.
But she's
gotten that far.
She got hands, dude. When I like went in, I was like, "Hey, let's go." And I was like, "Oh, okay." I think she's harder to fight than Mesmer.
Oh my god.
Mesmer was a tough one for me. Radahn, I think Consort Radahn is the hardest fight in the DLC, personally.
I literally could not beat it without summons.
I couldn't beat it without summons.
They had to nerf.
They had to nerf that fight because he is fucking goated. Consort Radahn is just, he cracked, bro. And I had to have two of my friends help me because I was like, I am emotionally unwell. Please help me.
Yeah.
Please help me. Like, Renala's...
I literally don't think, like... since the first time I started playing Dark Souls, I don't think I have felt that inadequate doing a boss fight. Like, it was the first time I'm like, in a long time where I'm like, I actually do not think I can beat this boss, like, myself.
Yeah, there was a lot of bosses that in the DLC that I even now, after, you know, I think I'm pretty decent at Souls games, I don't think I could fight him solo. Like, no. It would take me days. Because I think the first hard boss I ever encountered in any Souls game was Orphan of Kos in the DLC of Bloodborne. Like,
still haven't beaten that one.
That motherfucker, I beat him solo. It took me a week. I cried. I broke a controller.
Oh my god.
I was so mentally fucking broken because I've never encountered a fight like that. And Bloodborne, if you ever played Bloodborne, learn to fucking parry. Please.
That's like me with Owlfather and Sekiro.
He's... Which version are you stuck on?
The second version.
Okay, so you're probably trying to do the true ending, or one of the good endings.
Yeah.
He's hard, but when one of my friends, I'm not gonna say his name, but he is literally one of the most goated Souls players I've ever met in my entire life. I think he's better than some of the fucking Souls streamers I watch, some of the big names. He told me, Kate, Consort Radahn is not to be fucked with. And I was like, no, that's fine. I went in, clap. And I was like, okay, yep, come in, help me, please. Help me. And it actually, even with his and someone else's help, it took us several tries. Not only that, I'm pretty sure I was blinded the entire fucking time. Like, I was like, how do I... So much light. But it is very cinematic for sure. Very cinematic.
Incredible fight. Like, all around. It's just like, you're in awe every time you see one new attack. You're like, oh shit, and then it kills you and you're like, okay, I gotta not like be wowed by the arena I'm in and like what is happening, and like realizing like how significant of a moment this is, especially after everything leading up to it.
Yeah, and the fights, like I said, there's so many good fights in the game, in the DLC, and another it's a good fight. I'm not gonna say it's my favorite, but one of the most intriguing fights is when you fight that fucker with the boar.
Yeah.
I was like, I ran out and I was like, oh, sick. Cool. And then I hear and I see a boss fucking health bar show up. And
you get the health bar?
Excuse. And I'm looking around like, And then I looked up. My dumbass looked up. I was like, it's gonna dive bomb my ass. And then I looked down, and it's right in front of me is just a boar just fucking plowing into me. And I was like, whoo! What do you mean, brother? Like, yeah, the DLC, I will say the DLCs from Souls games are just so...
They're the best part of every one of the games, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. I will agree that fucking DLC for Bloodborne. DLC.
Very good.
The DLC for 2 made me want to
Lawrence
pull my
is
hair
a
out.
shit boss. Lawrence is a dog shit boss, but the DLC for Bloodborne's good.
But the music for Lawrence is chef's kiss.
Oh, yeah.
The music in the DLCs are just... They fucking go hard, bro. They go very, very hard. But yeah, That's Elden Ring in the DLC in a nutshell, I would say. Unless you have anything else, Opti. I think...
No, that's a lot. That's like summing up a like 250 hours of game into however long we've been recording. So
But
a good
what about
almost
Nightreign?
Okay.
That's an alternate universe. It is canon, but it's a split timeline. It is actually. It is. It is an alternate. So it takes place when the shattering happens. There is a thing. There's like another entity called the Night, which I don't know if it is another fragment of like the Great One, like alongside like the Greater Will and the Frenzied Flame and the Scarlet Rot. But there is an entity called the Night that goes off and splits a portion of the timeline and keeps a portion of the timeline kind of in this perpetual state of night. And it's weird because it's canonical, but it takes place like parallel to everything else that's happening in Elden Ring. So
parallel and kind of after. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's weird. Yeah.
Okay, I just didn't know the story of Nightreign at all.
So Nightreign...
That's okay, I hardly do.
So this is where I come in. So there's a lot of rumor that the Night Lord, the Night Aspect, who is the final boss, is actually the Tarnished. There's still a lot more to be learned of Nightreign since it's not completely out. But...
It isn't?
No, it's not fully out.
There's DLC coming out, and they just released like a new endless mode like a week or two ago.
Yeah, which I've been playing nonstop. It's really hard and it hurts my feelings. But anyways, the Night, like he said, it takes a fragment, so it's kind of like Lemmigrave. You're in the Lemmigrave area, and you...
Did you say Lemongrave?
No, Lemmy. I call it Lemmy. I call it Lemmy. It's a little.
I love it.
It's a little Lemmy grave. That's what I call it. So I call it Lemmy grave. Just it reminds me of Monty Python, but we won't get into that. Anyways, and you've played it with me, so you get the gist of how it plays, right? So you have different night. They're called Night Lords, but then you have Night Aspect, right? Who's like the. I'm not gonna call him the big bad because there's still a lot more to it, but basically. You encounter a priestess who later you learn becomes the Duchess, who's a playable character, who is there to basically stave off the night. And you have all these different characters. There's, I believe, 8 or 7 in total. And you guys go over and over each. You have 3 nights, and you have to defeat the Night Lord to tell the night, shoo, bye-bye, don't come here. And basically, the Night Lord, or the Night Aspect, like, he fucking hates the Erdtree, essentially. Like, kind of like the general gist. We don't know the true aspects of it, but depending on which character you play, you get a lot of different stories. So you do the remembrances, because they don't know... They kind of have fragments of who they are, where they've come from, but they're just kind of there. So, in general, I will link the characters for you. The Duchess and Wildler are twins, or they're brother and sister. I Iron Eye was part of a mercenary group that you actually encounter in the base game. And he was murdered by his own tribe. And so you have two options when you beat Night Aspect with him. You could either slit the throat of the fucking thing that's holding the Night Rune, or you could restore the night or the Erd Tree and then make the Night Lord go by. And then you have the Recluse, who's an OP fucking wizard or sorceress, who actually cursed the Guardian, who's the bird-like character, cursed his tribe so they can't fly. So you could choose as a Guardian to forgive the Recluse. You have the Raider, who kind of stems from Godfrey's group. And then you have the Revenant, who's a doll. So, and she does a lot of summons.
Shit.
She does a lot of summons, so I have not done the remembrances for Revenant. I don't fucking like playing her. She's too goddamn hard. I'm an Iron Eye Duchess player. But basically you're fighting through these nights. You have different Night Lords, and the Night Lords that you encounter before the Night Aspect are actually have relationships, like some type of relationship with the Night Aspect. So the first one is the Hound, the three-headed dog, essentially, and he has a sword. He was actually casted out of his kind of kin. They casted him out because he had 3 heads, he was headstrong, he was just different. And he was picked up by the Night Aspect, who loved him and cared for him and gave him his sword. So the sword that he's using is a sword from the Night Aspect. Gaping Jaw, and you have the Cum Bubble, which is the big giant augur boss. I call him the Cum Bubble.
Hold on, one more time.
Cum Bubble. Shoots his little fucking sperm at you.
Oh.
Then you have this. You have the Sentient Pest. You have Libra, and you have the Dark Knight, the Centaur guy, Dark Drift Knight. Who
I love that name, the Sentient Pest. What a good name.
It's a fucking bitch boss. I fucking hate that. Not one of. I don't like Augur, Cum Bubble, and I don't like Sentient Pest fights. They're boring, but I like things that are aggressive and knock me on my ass. But anyways, so they all have some type of allegiance or relationship with the Night Aspect. He's cared for them, he's nurtured them, he's given them safe haven in some way. So they are kind of like his barons. Because when you get the relics, they're like the Night Baron. So they're the Night Lord's barons. So that's kind of my lore of Nightreign. Now, another character that's, I think, really cool that you meet a lot in the base game is the Executor. He's actually a Crucible Knight. When you do his remembrances, he starts remembering, like, why he loves the Erd Tree so much, why he's so devoted to it, why he cares so much about it. And you learn that he was a former Crucible Knight. So that's pretty cool.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. When you do the remembrances, you get a lot of story, so I recommend you do them. Some of them are a fucking pain, but they add a lot of story elements to it. The Revenant's just a fucking angry little girl who bullies everything with big bops, big bonks. So I don't know much about her. Like I said, I don't play her much. I played her once because I wanted the achievement of beat a Night Lord with all characters or whatever. I played her once and I was like, never fucking again. But they all have their connections, and they all have. And the thing about when you do some of the remembrances in Nightreign, like there you have kind of like the butler that's with the Duchess, who's the priestess. And if you do some of the remembrances, you go down to a crypt underneath the Round Table Hold, right? And it turns out there's 8 beings that knew that the Night Lord would come, and the night would endlessly come. So they pick these 8 warriors essentially to fight off the night, and so it was already preordained. They already knew that this was going to happen. It's been an ongoing thing, because I don't know yet if you can kind of fend off the Night Lord, but you can't really kill him, if that makes sense. But there's rumor throughout the Nightreign community that the Night Lord is the Tarnish who beats the game, or a Tarnished.
I was gonna say that would require like, because if it splits off after the shattering, if that's how it works, then that like the Tarnish would have to like time travel. But
there's so much.
I don't know.
There's so much speculation. There's so much speculation, and what I've read and what I've seen. I think it's a Tarnished. I don't know if it's the Tarnished. But there's so much.
I play Nightreign like I play Call of Duty Warzone. Like I drop in and it's just kill everything and get to endgame. Like as much as I'm a lore guy, I'm like, no. I play as John Elden Ring. I zip around with my grappling hook and I light shit on fire.
Yeah, so an interesting thing what Nightreign did, that FromSoft did with Nightreign, is if you do the remembrances, you get very good relics for the characters. Mm-hmm. And so it makes you kind of go into the lore. So, yeah. And what I also love about Nightreign is you get to encounter some of really nostalgic bosses from the other Dark Souls game, like Nameless King, Centipede Demon, Smelter Demon, Dancer.
I lost my shit because like I knew some of the bosses that were in it. I forget. There was one that popped in and I geeked the fuck out over.
Nameless King. Like the moment I heard the music for Nameless King, I fucking flipped my shit. And then Gaping Dragon popped up and I was like, shut the fuck up, shut the fuck up. And then Dancer's one of my favorite bosses from Dark Souls 3. And then, Smelter Demon's cool and all, but, and Centipede Demon's interesting. I can't think. Those are the only ones I've encountered. I know that they'll add more. And I'm hoping they add another. They're supposed to be in the DLC adding another map.
I want them to add Bed of Chaos.
Why?
Because I want to see what a non-rushed, pushed out, cut down version of Bed of Chaos would be like.
You know what? Fair.
I have a question.
Sure.
Yes.
So, did George R.R. Martin have any hand in the DLC or Nightreign's lore?
DLC.
Nightreign, I would almost say most definitely not. The DLC, I don't know, potentially.
That is more research to be done. But yeah, definitely not Nightreign. Nightreign was just kind of a different way to play Elden Ring.
Yeah. Nightreign, Nightreign is like an in-between project where they're like, all right, we need to do something between Elden Ring and something else, and we got to make more money, and we need something that's going to be consistent. And it's good. It's really fucking good. I have a friend who I'm going to play some this weekend with, who wasn't really on board for it, and I was like, I had it pre-ordered, and I have like 30 hours, and I think they have probably several hundred more hours than I do, and they're like goated as fuck at it. It's very, very good. Like that's how much it hooks. It's very well done.
I have 187 hours in it, and I'm about to play some after this. So
it's so interesting how much they're milking from Elden Ring, and just from like the lore is so intricate. They can keep on doing that and like expand on it.
And I think it's a great I do think that there's a lot of games that should end. We've talked about it in several episodes, like The Last of Us. Just fucking end it. Just stop milking it out. Just end it. I'm sick of The Last of Us.
You don't want the Ultra HD PS5 double deluxe edition?
No, fuck it. I fucking hate it. Anyways, but what I find fascinating with Elden Ring, and I tell people, is I think Elden Ring is the easiest FromSoft game to get into
Mm-hmm.
because it leaves a lot of room for you to learn. I'm going to say it again, learn how to swim. Dark Souls games, it was kind of like you're just thrown into it. Godspeed. Elden Ring created a lot of more flexibility, and it created a much more gradual learning curve versus the other games. And this is from my own personal experience. It could be different for everybody. I had an easier time with Elden Ring than I did Bloodborne or Sekiro or any of the Dark Souls games, because those, it was like fucking stress from the moment I loaded it up. And Elden Ring, I was overwhelmed by the sheer size of it, but playing it, and I know a lot of people who've never touched a FromSoft game or Souls-like game who went into Elden Ring and they're like, I fucking love this. I'm going to go play the other ones, right? So I think the milking it out is okay. And like, I hated Nightreign when it was first announced. I was like, that's fucking stupid. And then as it got closer, I was like, and then I watched streamers do a tournament of it, and I was like, okay, that's actually sick. I want to play it. And then I got it. I got the deluxe version, and I basically have no-lifed it. And then they released the new Deep of Night mode, and I've been playing that as much as it makes me want to pull my hair out. And I'm patiently waiting for DLC and new playable characters and new bosses, because I've played through all the enhanced bosses. I've soloed all the Night Lords. I did not think it would be as addicting as it is.
It gets you right in, and you kind of know what to expect, and it's like an hour in Elden Ring is like cool. I did 2 of like the 150 dungeons that are in the game. An hour in Nightreign is like I got a whole ass run in, and I got some sick relics.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's like a little bit more reward for like the same amount of time spent. And even if you like fuck up and like your run dies, it's like like you gained information.
Yeah.
Which is kind of how that like gameplay loop works in Dark Souls games anyway. So
yeah, but the I'm not well versed. I know through experience what the lore is just by playing it, and then I did do a little. Vati does have a video on it, and he talks a little bit of it, but there's not enough right now to really definitively say what is what, other than like the playable characters that you have now and who the Night Lords kind of are to the story. Don't know what the fuck's gonna be in the DLC. I hope it makes me cry. But yeah, no, it's tied together, and like you said, there's so much story. They can do a whole DLC on the Carrion side, like the stars and all that. You can do more DLC on the Frenzy Flame, and why don't we learn more about the Rot? And also learn more about Marika when she became the deity and she was fighting alongside Godfrey in the Lands Between. They fought a huge war against the giants, and she made the giants have to stay there and fucking guard whatever shit's there. So there's just so much that can be built on from the base game itself. So.
And I had a question for Opti, because you're a mythologist.
yes.
Would you say there's any, like, what would the connection or like inspiration, I guess, from actual mythology into Elden Ring be? Like,
Oh dear God, where to start? It's like just in general or like specifics?
you can be as general or specific as you want, because I love history and mythology.
Yeah, like I think that's a great question. Yeah, like whatever you want to
Yeah.
share with us. It doesn't matter how long or how short. From a mythologist perspective. Give us it.
Yeah, so um I'm gonna pose a question to the class. And if you're listening, you can kind of think this answer out in your head. But I'll ask, like, how would you define mythology? When you think mythology, what do you think of? Like, how would you define it? Like, what is a myth, and then therefore, what is the study of a myth?
I took a lot of mythology classes in college, and one one thing that stood out that a really good mythology professor told me, there is not, like, there's a definitive answer and there's a perspective answer. And what I described it to her in a paper was mythology is a mixture of storytelling with history and these beliefs and these perspectives of not just an individual, but it could also be a collective. And
Yeah,
it
it's like
comes
cultural storytelling.
yeah, cultural storytelling is a good way to say it. So that's what I would describe mythology.
Okay.
And I think, I was having a conversation with my friends a couple days ago about history is, can history be definitive? And I think there's a lot of gray area because it's also stories and translations that are handed over through time. And we've all been exposed to sharing our own versions of experiences to others, and then they share those experiences to someone else. So some things can be lost. And so I think mythology adds a little bit of mysticism and kind of, I you can tell me if I'm wrong, but like
no, you're like you got it. Like you have the idea.
One thing that I watched Tabby play. What's that game with the girl has schizophrenia?
Sending sacrifice.
Yes.
Oh, don't get me started on that. That could be. Oh man.
Maybe we'll do an episode with you on that because Tabby did a full playthrough of both games.
Yeah, I played both games. I love Senua.
I think that's one of the greatest pieces of media that has ever been made.
Yeah, I thought it resonated hard with me because my father had schizophrenia, but he was very colorful in the way he saw life. And I think a lot of mythology too, when we think of gods and things like that, and myths in general, are perspectives of individuals that's experienced something that quote unquote normal people don't, hallucinations, or maybe not right state of mind, or if they took drugs, or they had a near death experience.
You should look into hold on, let me look at my bookshelf. I would recommend I'd recommend Joseph Campbell.
Ooh, I know who that is.
Controversial opinion, dependingly. But I would recommend. Oh God, where is he on my shelf? I just reorganized all my books. I would recommend Myths of Light, and I would also recommend The Power of Myths. I think both of those are very good because he does talk about sort of like the shamanistic aspect to it, and the idea of like breaks from reality, tapping into a deeper psychology.
Yeah, and I think that to me is how I view mythology. Is a lot of it's historical, a lot of it's perspectives on an individual and collective basis, and it's cultural storytelling, like Tabby said. So that's my view.
Okay. All right, Tabby.
Cultural storytelling. That was my answer.
Just simple as that. Oh, okay. So I define the problem with defining mythology, and I sound like one of those 101 professors where you go in as like a freshman, and you're like, define psychology for me, and then everybody raises their hand, and then they go, well, actually, it's this. But so I define mythology as the study of narrative, pictorial, or performative systems of symbols, and that is expressed through stories that reflect long-running collective human experiences in both the individual and greater society.
Ooh.
So a myth is a myth can be narrative, so it can be just a story that's told, so it can be spoken, it can be written, it can
Mhm.
be pictorial, so it can be drawn, it can be like it can be a comic, it can be a movie, it can be a slideshow, it can be performative, it can be a dance, it can be a play. Um, so systems of symbols. When you're looking at a myth, there is always a sort of second dimension behind what you're looking at. Now, not everything that is symbolic is immediately mythological. So when I'm looking at something and trying to determine if it's a myth, because the difficulty in trying to look at something like Dark Souls or Elden Ring and assert that it is a myth is that we don't have the same hindsight in asserting something that is contemporary as mythological. There's a lot of the way that we view myths and mythology is that it is in the past. These are old stories. These are these are like this is Beowulf. This is the Odyssey. This is like the Three Kingdoms, the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, and so on and so forth. But the reality is all of those things that used to exist and we now consider myths were at some point contemporary to the people that believed in them or used them to sort of guide themselves in their day-to-day lives. So myth making it's an ongoing process, and we still make myths today, even for people who are not religious. Myths do not have to be like when we look at. I think the thing that I find fascinating is like I myself, not even remotely religious, but then I find a lot of people who don't like religion love video games with religion in them, love Greek mythology, and then still grapple with the topic of religion and find some sort of sense of themselves or way to explore the world in them. But myth doesn't have to necessarily be inherently religious. It just has to be symbolic to some degree. And so I'm looking for long running strands of an individual's experience of how they relate themselves to the world, to society, to the universe, and then also within themselves. So to kind of talk about like what as far as like what does Elden Ring do that is mythological? So one, it does draw from a lot of real world myths. There's a concept called mythopoetics, which is the recasting of old myths into a new form. There's this notion that like myths don't change, that they're static, but the reality is that's it's so far from the truth and just ignores like basic history of the idea that, hey, this was written down once and it's the same it's always been, and everybody who has read this has thought about it the same way and has implemented it into their lives the same way, or it's been part of their culture the same way. But the myth has always evolved, and it's always evolved to fit the needs of the culture. And when it fails to do that, they fall out of fashion, and then so it has to adapt to the different cultures that kind of it springs up alongside of. And so Elden Ring pulls from Celtic myth. It pulls from like Greco-Roman myth, pulls from like East Asian myth, as well as like Southeastern Asian myth as well. And so it takes all these like little different like symbolic elements that are iconography. So just the visual elements, or even some of like the actual intended elements, like cultural elements, and then it implants them somewhere new, and then it plays with them in that space. And so you can kind of find those like those themes. One of the things that FromSoft does constantly is plays with the idea of trying to prolong one's own life. And how many times in a FromSoft game is trying to reach immortality met with some horrible consequence.
Yeah.
And so you can kind of trace these themes throughout their work and these consistent ideas. And so you can look at like dragon symbolism and snake symbolism and how they use those. You've got the age old notion of dragons being related to different elements of nature, and then also being related to like the Western notion of the slaying of a dragon is sort of the conquering of one's own ego, was where the Eastern notion of dragons is relation to the elements and sort of one's relation to those as well and how we interact with those. And then look at the way that we interact with dragons in the Dark Souls universe or Elden Ring's universe as well, and how like the power that they hold over the characters, over the game world. And then the powers of immortality again, also of rebirth is interesting too. There's almost like a Buddhist aspect to rebirth in the different games. I wouldn't say exactly the same, because that's it's not one to one. Buddhism is more about the cultivation of an extended chain of the self and soul, as opposed to like you die and come back and you're a little bit crazier than you were before as like a hollowed undead. And that has more to do with perseverance than it does necessarily like cultivation. But so there's a lot to be said, and you can kind of pick apart all like the individual elements. The thing that I feel like it's glossed over a lot in discussion, like deeper discussions of FromSoft's themes, is it's always brought up in context of every person's individual experience with Dark Souls, but it's never really related back to the game. So there's tons of stories of people who like Dark Souls helped them through like depression, which for me, I picked up Dark Souls when I was at the worst point in my life, and it helped me get through it just by having something to focus on. There's stories about like it just kind of helping people get their lives in order, or kind of find some perspective and like drive themselves to do something more with their lives. And the interesting thing about Dark Souls, everybody focuses more on the power struggle between light and dark and good and bad, and what's the correct ending in each game, and kind of defending their take on what the ending is. But I think, at least in my opinion, that the real sort of power behind what Elden Ring and anything FromSoft has done more has to do with your reflection of what you think is happening. It's more a piece about, or it's more like a piece of who you are and what the game means to you by the end of it.
Yeah, and I mean, we touched base on it earlier in the episode where we are goody two shoes. You like the good endings, and it's hard to be the villain. And you know, I can say throughout any video game I play, but Souls-like games were some of the first games I played where you had a choice. And for me, I play based on my moral compass, is to hear, to listen, observe, and formulate my own kind of decision on, is there necessarily a good and a bad? Is there good and evil? Is there a necessary evil? What is going to play? What is it better for the people, or is it better for the world, etc.? And it's based on, I think, on moral compass and what we define as, okay, well, I'm going to make these choices. So I think that's very interesting in a mythology context. You made me think. I like that.
Yeah, I thought that you would say Celtic mythology was a big pull for the inspiration for Elden Ring, but I didn't expect you to say Greco-Roman or East Asian either.
Oh, absolutely. They pull from so many different things, and I wish I had a better eye for identifying them. I usually rely on like experts in those areas to pull from things, because I'm fairly well versed, but I'm well versed at, like, I could sit here and like rattle off things about like the Iliad and the Odyssey, but then if somebody were like, did you know like this part of Achilles' story like relates to this character in Elden Ring, I'd be like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, I can't always make those connections. But there's a lot of different things in there that I think kind of speak to like maybe different warrior cultures. I think there's things in there that speak to different like saying like deific cultures, but like the way that we like the way different cultures give praise to gods and things like that, that kind of wrap
Mhm.
back around to like real life like cultic activity as well. That is cult, not occult, as it were.
Hmm. And okay, sorry, I'm just thinking.
No, no, you're good.
Gave us a lot to think about. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It's how my
Um,
mind works all the time. You travel around in there. There's a lot going on.
Yeah, my mind is like, I read kind of a lot. I read 5 books, at least 5 books a week if I can.
Jesus Christ.
Um, and my mind is always filled like, how did this person envision the story? How did they build their universe? Where did they pull ideas from? What from what history? From what myth? From what religion? How do you incorporate this? How do you give meaning to these names and to these worlds? Like as I'm creating my own projects, I'm like, okay, so this clan is is built upon these beliefs that I'm pulling from actual things that exist in real life and twisting them in a way that fits my world building. So it's a lot to think about. And as you're talking about like how they pulled from like Eastern and Roman and all this other stuff, one of the big things when you start Elden Ring is you choose a class. You have your knights, you have your clerics, you have your spellcasters, uh you have your, what do they call them, the ones where you're just basically bare bone naked. You have your mercenaries. So they do pull a lot of different elements, and that I glossed upon that. I was just like, oh, they're just picking cool builds because there's cool weapons, but they're actually pulling a lot from different things, which is it's now my brain's just braining. Is you scratched my
Can
brain.
can you give any like specific examples of our our real life mythology put into the game, do you think? Or like twist
Um,
it a little bit to not be one for one?
the one thing that I've always kind of wanted to dive into is potentially is the idea of like the Celtic knot and its relation to America's braids.
Mm.
Um,
mm.
I have no idea if there's a connection there, but like it like tickles like the folds in my skull, so I'm like I'm kind of like I want to look into that a little more.
That is
And
I
interesting. Whoa.
Yeah.
and like how George R. R. Martin, well, I don't know like how much was he like the guy that was he the only writer of Elden Ring or was he doing
No.
Collaborated. He collaborated.
okay.
He wrote the base lore, so he actually wrote more or less he wrote the whole mythos. Like he created the pantheon, the names, the like the gods. So he created the foundation for it. And then FromSoft took what he made and then went, okay, we're gonna like pick this apart and then kind of work from it from there.
Okay.
So it's the story is not George R. R. Martin's, but the mythos is largely is his part.
That makes sense. Um, okay. So then that I was going to ask like since George R. R. Martin took a lot of for his books A Tale of Ice and Fire or is that the
Sure.
That's one of the
I have
books.
no idea.
That's one of the books
that's
of
for
ice
the
of ice
whole
and fire.
series.
Yeah.
Yes, The Tale of Ice and Fire. Like the whole series, he took a lot of um he took a lot of real world history and put that in the books, um, which was always interesting to me. The real world history is always fascinating to me, but I was wondering if he like took anything from real world history as well as, but since you told me he just wrote the base mythos, okay, that makes more sense and that kind of cancels out my questions.
Yeah, it's and like we don't know like we don't know what he wrote. Like we know more or less like we know kind of like like the sourdough starter like mold of what he made, and then where like Miyazaki and FromSoft took from there. But we don't know like what 100% was his factually and what is like FromSoft's machinations.
We need like their Bible. They need to like
Yes.
release the Bible for Elden Ring.
Part of me hopes we one day get a Dark Souls like here's everything, and an Elden Ring here's everything, and there's a part of me hopes that we never get it. If that makes sense.
No, it
Like
does.
I want to know, but also it would like take away from the mystique of everything.
Mm-hmm.
Totally get.
Yeah, 100%. There's like some answers I want to know, and then I'm like, but it'll kind of ruin the mystery behind some of the things, because there's so many questions, in all their games that I'm like,
Yeah,
huh?
they leave a lot up to speculation.
Like, why is he called Big Hat Logan?
Yeah, and it's, I think, I know that with these games, and especially Elden Ring, and bringing up other games like Clair Obscura, Expedition 33, is the beauty of narration and the interpretations, but also kind of the factual aspects of it, that we can all find our own story within not just the experience and how we play, but what they themselves have created and allowed us to experience, if that makes any sense.
And different ways of telling a narrative.
Hmm.
And that creativity is still very fruitful if given the time and the resources, of course. Not throwing shade.
The thing that's like that I think is fascinating about the way that like the way that they have created a new framework for storytelling is that this couldn't exist outside of the storytelling like world of video games. Like you could make the argument that because like the whole thing is you walk through the game yourself, so you are manipulating this physical like ontological space that exists to some degree, and you are your own archaeologist of finding out these like shreds of information. And you can kind of get that from a movie of like, oh, did you know in the background of this one scene they included this like number on the wall because it alludes to this, but it's really not the same thing. Like
Yeah.
it's not really. Or like if you're doing like a VR experience, you can kind of get that, but like a VR experience it's a different medium than like an action game. And so there's really it's really interesting to see a game where you would play it like you would a video game, but you experience it almost like you would while you're like reading through the Iliad while sitting in like like a ruin somewhere in Greece and kind of putting like two and two together.
Yeah, 100%. It's so unique, and it's kind of expression, and it's hard to experience anything like that. It like you said, they're making like an Elden Ring. No, Sekiro's getting its own anime, and there's people saying, make an Elden Ring TV show or anime, and I'm like, can you though? Because Sekiro in its own way has a set story.
Yeah, set main character.
Set
that has a name.
We are getting an Elden Ring movie development by A24.
A24?
Yes. Alex Garland is behind it, actually.
What?
Yes. I don't know. I'm like, how?
Like, what?
How can you encompass that?
I know. That's what I'm curious about.
Oh.
Nouns.
I mean,
you can't like I don't think you can't do everything, so they're gonna have to pick something and just go with it. And Alex Garland apparently is very much a fan of Elden Ring. And Alex Garland is a pretty good fucking director, so I have high hopes.
Maybe there'll be a whole there could be it could be like, oh my God, Disney's Marvel, except it's Elden Ring. It could be a whole cinematic universe.
You know what? I'll dive into it. I'll bite into it because I'm sick of the superhero shit. So
I've been giving a shit about Marvel since like the first Avengers movie, but I'm on board for like 10 Elden Ring movies.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah, dude. Sign me the fuck up. Put me in, coach. I'm in for it. No, it's a huge world, so I'm interested to see what pieces they take from it.
Wow.
I didn't know. I heard it was rumor. I guess it's not rumor. It's factual. Holy shit.
We're living in a time. We're living in an age.
Well, hopefully all of them come out before I die. Hopefully it comes out before I fucking die. All of them. If they do like a whole series. I'm very critical about, video games and also books becoming films or some type of cinema because, we've seen a lot of ruin. I mean, they ruined one of my favorite universes, which is The Witcher. So here we are.
Ruined for a lot of people, I hear.
Oh, yeah, we're not gonna. I will fucking get heated, and I'm comfortable right now. I don't want to get sweaty. No, and I just, as much as I do get tired of some of the FromSoft, having to find my own stories, at the same time, I appreciate the scavenger hunts and building my own narrative with what information they provide, because it creates a different way to play a game. And I get, moral compass, my own views on what's good or right, good and evil.
It's the other thing about these games is you cannot know a goddamn thing and play through it and still have a good narrative experience.
Exactly. Right? It's cinema. And I mean, some of the fights with the music, and you're just like, that's why I own multiple copies, is like the PlayStation copies are for me to play on surround sound in my living room to piss off the neighbors. And then the computer versions are just for me to hang out with my friends and bully shit. I do that a lot with a lot of video games where I'm like, you know what? This music, these cutscenes, these fights, I want to see them on a big screen with surround sound and just get taken away. Just absolutely blown away. So, and Dark Souls, I have all the Dark Souls games on both platforms, and it's literally just to be like, oh. So, I remember when I fought Lady Maria in Bloodborne for the first time, and I just ran around in a circle so I could listen to her soundtrack. And I have no shame, because that's
a good one.
That's
a banger.
It's a fucking banger.
Play Bloodborne.
It's a good one. Bloodborne is the one that I recommend to people to get into FromSoft games, actually. Because it's the least punishing when you're aggressive, and a lot of people's first inclination is, it's an action game, I need to be attacking. Okay, everybody's favorite song from a FromSoft game, go.
Oh, fuck.
You only get one. You have to choose only one.
Fucking one? Oh,
yes.
Fuck me
I know
sideways.
Mine is.
I'm gonna have to go with Lady Maria.
Pretty good. Pretty good.
That almost brought me to tears when it was so good. Okay, Tabby, do you have one?
Well, I never played Bloodborne.
Well, any FromSoft game.
FromSoft game.
Kate's gonna say what, but I'm gonna say the Great Ape in Sekiro, because that's was like
banger though.
That was the first fight I had in the palm of my hand once I learned it, and I was like, oh my God, I get why people love the game, because it was the first fight I telegraphed and I could understand. I studied and I learned. Yeah. Yes, and it clicked. And I was like, I get it now. I get it now.
Traumatized me. To this day.
You're like, aha, I beat it. What the fuck is happening?
All right, Opti, what's yours?
So shockingly, not from any of my favorite FromSoft games, but Caligo Miasma of Nights OST from Nightreign.
Oh, that's a
It is
banger.
like that. It gives me chills every time I listen to it. It swells beautifully. Like knowing the fight too. It's just an incredibly directed piece of music from top to bottom.
Oh, yeah,
And it like
that's
tells a story through it.
yeah, that one and Dark Drift Nights music is just
Like that one too.
oof. But yeah, I just every time I listen to Lady Maria and when I would
It used
fight
to be
her,
Gurman for me.
it just my fucking soul ascended. I fucking ascended, man. I mm, mm. Yeah. Now, favorite fight, you can only pick one. You said Great Ape, right, Tabby?
Yeah.
What's yours, Opti? Your favorite fight from the front
Like mechanically or aesthetically? Or lore wise? Or are you just telling me to not be pedantic and pick a fucking fight?
Let's do mechanically.
Mechanically? I think the one that's the most satisfying to me is probably I really, really like Dancer. I like the groove that Dancer puts you in a lot. And when you lock in and like get into that fight, it just feels so good.
It's just a beautiful fight.
It is. And she's just a stunning
She's stunning
creation.
beauty.
She got a booty too. Got a dumpy.
Just a great design.
Oh yeah. Hands down. I would say for me, would definitely be Sword Saint Ishin.
Solid.
That fight took me ages, and when I, like Tabby said with Great Ape, when I found out, I just go in and I'm like, come at me, bruv. Now, to tie that though, mechanically, the one boss that nearly broke me, and there's clips of me crying from beating him, was Nameless King.
Yeah.
Mm.
And now when I fight him in Nightreign, I'm like, my goat, my love, my beloved. Let's go. I'm gonna fucking eat your face for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So, but Sorsei Ishin just, when I learned how to do that fight, like, I can't even describe what it did.
That's a good feeling.
I can't even describe it. It was just fucking, if I had to believe in a religion, it would be that. Beautiful. So do we have anything else regarding Elden Ring or FromSoft?
I can keep talking about this shit for hours. So.
Same. But we gotta cut it short. We could do also. I'm always down to do a Bloodborne episode.
Shit, I gotta learn Bloodborne lore actually. Then
I actually have to play the game then.
You gotta get a PlayStation or emulate it.
it's fucking good.
I know.
It's really good.
Emulate it.
I might have to.
Yeah, if you don't have a PlayStation. I bought my PlayStation 4 for that game.
That's actually dead ass. I did too.
I got my PS5. I got my PS5 for Demon Souls.
I want to buy a PS5. I bought a PlayStation 4 to play Bloodborne, and the only other game I finished on my PlayStation 4 was the Medieval remake, which is also very good.
Well, Opti, thank you so much for being on the show. We would love to have you back for some. So I think we mentioned what Suna's what is it called?
Oh, Senua's Sacrifice.
Oh yeah.
We could talk about that. Definitely a Bloodborne episode is very much needed because it is just class. And, you know, I think this has been one of my favorite episodes because I've learned a lot from you. And it was so fun to talk about the myth and all the gritty nitty of Elden Ring.
Yeah, I actually kind of understand the base story now. Thank you for all.
You're not joking. You're not joshing for real.
No, no, no.
Okay,
This
we
stuff
get it.
does not make any sense unless it's explained to me, like explained like I'm 5. And you helped with that, so
It's
thank you.
it's so much. It's a lot. It's a lot. Like play through the whole game. I genuinely think the best way to experience a FromSoft game is to play through it yourself with other people who also don't really understand what's going on, or somebody who is going to very gently guide you so you know fucking nothing and you discover things naturally.
Tabby.
And then like
Yeah.
and then like and you just kind of like piece it together after the fact. And then you go
Yeah.
back and go, holy shit, and then you play through it a second time, and it like you learn more and you learn more, and the more you play through it, the more things just fall into place.
It takes more brain power than I'm used to putting into most games.
There's nothing wrong with that, man. Nothing wrong with that. That's just the nature. But anyways, thank you again. We will be posting Opti's socials into the show notes, so you guys please check him out on Twitch, his YouTube as well. A lot of great videos. And again, thank you, Opti, for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Hope you're always welcome to come join for other episodes. We do a lot of deep diving into video games. Tabby is really horror based, so she does a lot of horror games and indie games, and I talk a lot about weeb shit. So
both are favorite topics, so
absolutely. So thank you guys for joining us in this episode of Tipsy Geeks Unite. We hope you enjoyed this fun deep dive into Elden Ring, and we hope to see you guys in the next episode.
Bye.
Adios.
And that's a wrap on this episode of Tipsy Geeks Unite.
Thanks for geeking out with us. We hope your drink was strong and your fandom stronger.
Don't forget, you can find us on all major podcast platforms, now on YouTube as well.
Whether you binge us in the car, at the gym, or during your next dungeon crawl, we're just a click away.
Like, subscribe, and leave a review if you enjoyed the ride. It helps more adventurers find their way to our campfire.
Until next time, keep your mana full, your opinions hot, and your geek flag flying.
Cheers, nerds!
Cheers, nerds!